the Hoffman Show. We're on the Team 980. We're always live as well on the free Odyssey app, and we are streaming live on YouTube at the Team 980 as well. Anthony, I feel like we've had very different pre-show getting to this moments. And first of all, I gotta say I love your hoodie. I have a very similar one. I'm glad that I didn't wear it today. We can't be doing exact ones. Actually, I think Rachel has that exact one in terms of color and everything.
The good old brown, the mocha brown.
Yeah, so that's thing one. Thing two is your computers are currently giving you a full-on nightmare.
Yep.
So that's cool. Thing three is I definitely was asleep 30 minutes ago.
How do you feel?
I feel better.
Okay.
Today was the kind of day that I could not get going. At first I thought, I'm just dehydrated. And so I had a liquid IV. And it helped a little bit. But it's not even like I was celebrating the Aces championship last night the way the Aces were celebrating.
That's what I would have figured.
No, I'm not hungover. Maybe emotionally.
Okay, that's fair.
Maybe emotionally hungover, but I'm not actually hungover. I had 0 sips of alcohol, as opposed to the combined thousands that the Las Vegas Aces took last night, in terms of sips of alcohol. And then I just couldn't get like energized, and I kind of started to have a headache, and I was like, I think I just need to close my eyes. I think I just need to sit down for a second. And sure enough, that's what we did. And now we're going to try, as I told Russell a couple minutes ago, luckily my little pre-show nap didn't result in me losing hundreds of dollars by forgetting to parlay or put down the money on a parlay like Russell did last Friday. That was hysterical. Monday, Russell's dumb of the day was himself because he fell asleep in the studio on Friday. Then he tried to jokingly blame me because I do the show from home on Fridays. And he's like, if you had been here, then it wouldn't have been an issue because I would have not been able to just sit in this chair and fall asleep. But I set a timer for 20 minutes, and 18 minutes later, all of a sudden I popped up too and was like, oh, all right, there's 2 seconds left or 2 minutes left on my little timer. It tells me I got to wake up. Time to get to work. We got a radio show to do. So today on this radio show, we will let you hear momentarily from Eric Bieniemy, maybe a little bit of Jack Del Rio as well. Of course, both coordinators speaking on a Thursday, as they do every Thursday when there's a Sunday game. There was the, obviously, Thursday night game a couple weeks ago. But we got that. Shaun, our buddy from WFAN in New York, used to host the DA show. Now he's hosting Evan and Tiki in the afternoons. He's going to be on the show for Not My Beat. We might have a surprise or two, depending on variety of different things. But yeah, it's a prep day for us. Maybe a little take command too, getting you ready for Giants and Commanders on Sunday. And I'm gonna be blunt here. The Giants are not a very good football team. That's no surprise. They are a dramatic fourth quarter / second half comeback against the Arizona Cardinals away from being 0-6. They have not scored an offensive touchdown in weeks. Defensively, until Sunday against the Bills, they have given up at least 24 points in every game. Like, they are not good at all. And there is an element about this game that scares me. One, Chicago wasn't that long ago when I could not help myself but reminding everyone how not good the Bears were, and then the Bears went out and beat the living crap out of the Commanders. But you also just have the sheer reality that styles often make fights, and the styles when the Giants defense is on the field is the exact style that tends to cause the Commanders problems. Super high variance, lots of pressure, exotic looks coming from everywhere. Like the Wink Martindale, I'm going to blitz until the cows come home defense is the kind of thing that with this current offense being still relatively new and everyone not always on top of the protections and Sam holding the ball as long as he does, that scares the living daylights out of me. Although, I guess, relatively speaking, if I'm a Commanders, fan, that scares me. If I'm Eric Bieniemy, that scares me. The good news, though, if I'm Eric Bieniemy, is that I can do something about it. Here was EB earlier today at the podium on that Giants defense.
I saw a pretty damn good aggressive defense last week fly around and pretty much shut Buffalo down. That's a good offense who've done a number of things throughout the course of years with the personnel that they have. I thought that defense did a great job of just playing sound football. Obviously, it didn't end the right way, but I tell you what, this is the league. Obviously, you got to make sure that regardless of what their record is, we have to make sure that our attitude and mindset is in the right place, because we're not here to play down to a record. We're here to play a NFL team that's pretty damn good. They've had some unfortunate luck, but our job is to make sure that we're taking care of business. But that defense is very, very impressive.
If I'm Ron or I'm EB, and I literally just walk into the room this week and I go, hey, y'all remember how much Chicago sucked? I don't think you got to say much more than that. Like, this is an NFL opponent. Now, if I'm in the D-line room this week, I'm going, y'all, we can make some money this week. Like, we should destroy these guys. Like, whoever wants to see us dominate, we're never going to have a better opportunity. Like, let's go dominate. How do we do it? How do we work together to make sure that we dominate? If we just go play our game, we dominate. Like, this offensive line is bad. But on the offensive side, in the offensive meeting rooms, like, I'm saying, hey, we have got to be on it. If we're on it, we can do some things. If we're not, they're going to embarrass us. Because that's not just like coach speak. That's not motivational. If you are not prepared for the pressure packages that the New York Giants bring, and especially now that their back end is starting to coalesce a little bit, some of the younger players like Deonte Banks out of Maryland, who's been awesome for them this year, they're starting to trust those guys a little more. Wink's starting to ratchet up the pressure a little bit. And, like, this is also a little bit of what was happening with Chicago. Like, this is, wounded dog backed into the corner. They got one big swing left in them, and you're the one who's going to have to take it and not get knocked out and figure out how to deal with the problems that they present.
Yeah, that's definitely my biggest concern as well, going into the game. Quite frankly, because guess who's guess who's last in the league in sacks?
The New York Giants.
Guess who was last in the league when we played the Bears? Guess who was last in the league when we played the Falcons?
Hilariously, the number that the Falcons had coming into last week is the same amount the Giants have now.
Exactly.
They have 5 going into last week, which was one of the worst in the league, obviously, with the Giants, who still have 5. And you know how many sacks the Atlanta Falcons had against the Washington Commanders?
The same they had going in.
5.
Exactly.
Not great, Bob.
Nope.
So the Giants can heat you up big time. We got more EB talking about what it's like to face a Wink Martindale defense. And I'll also open up the phone lines, I think, at the Ace Law listener line, 301-230-0980. How concerned are you about this Giants defense ruining the Commanders' day? That, the EB sound and your calls next on the Hoffman Show on the Team 980 and always live as well on the free Odyssey app. They get real Icarus-y, to go back to your Greek mythology days. You remember the story of Icarus, Anthony?
Not quite, Frank.
What do they teach you at Georgetown Prep? Icarus, the guy who flies too close to the sun.
Nope.
What do they teach you at Georgetown? Anthony, I think you just put your job at risk at Georgetown Prep.
Why?
There's no way that they did not teach you the story of Icarus at Georgetown Prep.
We actually did a lot of Greek mythology, though. We didn't talk about Icarus flying too close to the sun.
Yes, you did. You don't remember it. I feel very... Who can we call at Prep to confirm this?
I mean, I will just do that right now, actually.
Okay. I would like you to ask someone of authority, do we teach about Icarus?
2 hours later.
Did we ever check in on that, Anthony?
Yeah, my classmates actually texted me and said, yeah, we've done it.
Okay. Yeah, we'll have to figure out where you were on that day of class at a later date.
You're right.
last night, Aryna Sabalenka makes the U.S. Open final, the Belarusian player, and here's how it sounded on Belarusian television.
Арина Соболенко! Ваму! Что Арина недостойна звания первой ракетки мира.
Yeah.
Получите! Распишитесь!
Oh, yeah.
Rising up! Back on the street! Did my time, took my chances. When the distance, now I'm back on my feet. Just a man and his will to survive. So many times it happens too fast.
Oh, he's
You
going.
change your passion for glory. It's the eye of the tiger. It's the thrill of the night. Rising up to the challenge of a rival. And they lost, no survival. Chose to Все, ребята, я сдулся.
10 out of 10. No notes. It's the Hoffman Show on the Team 980, always live as well on the free Odyssey app. So how concerning is this Giants defense? A pressure-happy group with Wink Martindale coordinating things, a guy who's been known to be the blitz-happiest guy in the league for years and has done a good job, won a lot of football games, and part of that is a trust in the back end to get things right, and he's got some younger players back there. They've gotten some guys in and out. Adoree Jackson's moved back outside for them. The former Carolina corner that I believe Ron Rivera drafted that now has been in New York and really done better there, frankly, than he did in Carolina. But it is going to be a big challenge for Sam Howell, for the offensive line. And, you know, the one thing that we talked about this morning, Anthony, on Take Command, that Logan and I kind of agree on is the offensive line obviously is playing a lot better than a lot of fans think. Like, that is just indisputable. You look at the sacks, you understand what's happening in the coverage side of things, you understand what's happening with the quarterback, and you just go, the offensive line is doing what you asked the O-line to do, and then something else happens. Often Sam is just trying to escape a clean pocket, and he runs right into a sack. But the times that the sacks happen that are not that has often come against either real or simulated pressure, where the O-line's got to slide and they've got to get that right. And some of that can be on Sam as well, right? Like, sometimes if that pressure's coming and you make a certain protection call, Sam's responsible to throw hot, basically, and he doesn't, or he might slide someone the wrong way, or, you know, sometimes it's Nick Gates, and it's not actually like one of the linemen losing physically, but they leave someone unblocked that they should have covered and they made the wrong protection call. But those things have given the Commanders problems at times this year, and that is one area where the O-line hasn't been quite as solid. So if I'm Wink, I'm looking at this young quarterback who holds the ball a ton, and that the O-line that struggles with, you know, identifying and picking up pressure, and going, in case anyone couldn't hear that, that was me rubbing my hands together in anticipation and delight if I was Wink Martindale. So, I legitimately am terrified of this, that, like, that's how the Giants stay in and ultimately win the game this weekend. Not that I'm going to pick that to happen, but that, like, the sack, fumble, turnovers, like some of the stuff that Desmond Ridder did last weekend, that could be Sam Howell this weekend. Hopefully, you know, it's not that bad. There's, like, best case scenario, they pick it all up and it's actually fine. Middle ground, he takes a bunch of sacks, but there's no catastrophic plays, and they can do enough because the Giants offensively are a disaster. And then the worst type is, like, he throws a pick six and they give up another, you know, sack, fumble in the red zone, and the Giants all of a sudden can score because their offense didn't have to do very much, if anything at all. And that to me is like the way and the very direct way with how the two teams match up that the Giants are even competitive this weekend.
Yeah, I definitely think, Sam King, I guess, blitzing corners or people coming off the edge has been a problem. And, it was a talking point also during training camp and even during the joint practices where, Sam needed to improve upon that. And I want to say it definitely against the Cardinals, definitely against the Bills, and even against the Bears. There have been times during the game where, they've come free and, Sam or the line hasn't necessarily keyed those defenders. So it is going to be something to watch for, but it's also, I think EB was asked about it, do you talk to Sam about, the fact that Wink Martindale is going to, bring pressure and, how does that conversation go with Sam? And I think EB was, pretty straightforward just about, yes, you watch the film, you see it, and you diagnose it, but there's only so much I can tell him. So it's more so going to be on Sam and, the offensive line to, improve upon that. But, I think Sam has done a solid job just trying to learn from those previous mistakes and things of that nature.
Was that bite, you're the one who labeled these, so I want to let folks hear it. I had two bites that could be on coaching Hal or on the challenges of facing Wink.
I think it's on the challenges of facing Wink.
Okay, because this one also talks about the wide receivers. So, anyway, this is the one I was going to play next anyway, so I don't know if this is exactly the bite that Anthony was just talking about, but here is EB on some of the challenges that this defense presents.
Oh, yeah. One thing when you're playing against this defensive coordinator who's a heck of a defensive coordinator, a good friend, Wink has been doing this for a long time. He's very creative with the schemes that he designs, and one thing that is that he's going to try and get after a young quarterback. So we have to prepare ourselves for anything and everything, and even the unscouted looks. So our job is to make sure our guys are sound in what we're doing. On top of that, it's our job to make sure that we're giving the quarterback answers right away. So now he doesn't have to think as much. Now he can go out there, react, and play. So, this coordinator is a good one, but when it's our job to make sure that we go out there and not allow the coordinator to have an impact on what we want to accomplish. We want to come out and establish our rhythm, making sure that we're in sync and we're doing the necessary things that's going to help lead us to victory.
I think it's interesting to hear him say that, like, I can't let the coordinator dictate. That's funny coming from a coordinator because obviously EB wants to dictate. But I do wonder if they kind of go back to the first half last week and they go, like, we were good in the quick game. We were good getting the ball out of Sam's hands. We were good with some of the pointed targets that we got, a guy like Terry McLaurin. Can we do that? Because there was another answer EB gave. I don't remember which bite it is. He talks for a long time, and it all starts to run together. But I was reading the transcript earlier, and one quote that stuck out was, like, we got to get guys touches. And whether that's B-Rob, whether that's AG, obviously Jahan keeps coming up in this regard. Like, how do you get those guys touches quickly? And I think this all works together. Right? If you can get some of this quick game stuff that kind of negates and neutralizes the blitz, it also gets your guys involved. It gets Sam confident and in a rhythm. It keeps the Giants on their toes, and hopefully it leads to scores. And here's the thing, man. Like, we talked about game flow last week against Atlanta. Bro. If I hit you with a bro, that's something serious about to happen. Bro. If the Giants get behind and have to, like, vertically pass the ball down the field, they are dead. They can't protect that O-line-wise at all. Like, if Chase and Montez and Duran and John, Casey, James, F.A., all of them, if they get to pin their ears back and not worry about the run, whoever is playing quarterback for them is going to very much wish they were not playing quarterback for them. And I think it's going to be Tyrod, who does come with his own set of challenges. I mean, both guys are super mobile and slippery. But if you can get out in front like you did against Atlanta and make Tyrod Taylor, the passer, beat you behind that offensive line, you're winning the football game. So when you talk about, like, you can't let the coordinator dictate, I do kind of wonder what that means from a game plan standpoint. Because the other thing is the Giants are one of the worst rush defenses in the league, which doesn't make any sense because they've got maybe the best D-line or DT combo in the whole league. Like, they've got Lawrence and why can I never remember the other guy's name?
Leonard Williams.
Yeah, Leonard Williams. Except for when I'm with Logan, and then he forgets Leonard Williams' name, and I have to correct him. It's required that one member of Take Command forgets Leonard Williams' name at all times. Our apologies to Leonard Williams. Please don't take it out on the burgundy and gold this weekend. Like, those two dudes are nasty. They're so good. They do some funky stuff with their front. Like, Dexter Lawrence plays a true nose. He's heads up with the center. For whatever reason, they are giving up 5.1 yards a carry. Now, part of that, yeah, I wish y'all could see Anthony's face right now.
5.1 it's a lot of yards.
It is, but it's also influenced by who they've played, right? They play Miami, who's averaging 180 yards per game.
Yep.
Rushing. They're averaging basically 500 yards a game. They're at 498.1, I think, is the number I saw.
I mean, a 700-yard game will,
does help.
Yeah, skew the numbers.
They really hung 70 and 700 yards on the Broncos. That is crazy. But Miami, San Francisco, I don't think they played Detroit. They played Arizona, who actually runs it pretty well and runs it a lot. So, like, them being high up in terms of yards per game is not surprising. They've also been behind basically the whole season, outside of the last 30 seconds against Arizona or whatever it was. Like, they've played from behind constantly, so teams are obviously going to run it. But that doesn't explain why their yards per carry is so bad. So this gets into, like, a very interesting philosophical quandary, question, quiz. Any other words that are really good in Scrabble that you want me to throw in there, Ant?
Oh.
Okay. All them keywords for EB, do you run it, do you throw it? Right? Like, if I'm EB, I probably try to be a little more run heavy in this game than I would the rest of the year. That said, I also want to be true to my own identity, and it's, as we've talked about at length this week at times, their identity is not running the football. Their identity is, we're going to spread you out, we're going to throw it, sometimes very quickly, but I do think that they got more balance last week on that, and the Philly game as well, where they had a better mix of, like, last week it was heavy. Nikki wrote about this in the post, like, more play action than they've run all year, more heavy personnel than they've run all year. Like, they played a bit of a different game last week, and it worked out for them, obviously, very well in the first half, and then they in the second half. But I think a similar type of plan against New York is probably the right play, because you're trying to get the same kind of game flow. You're trying to avoid the same stuff. And hopefully, while it is a different attack defensively for New York than it was for Atlanta, like, the goals are the same. And so I think the offensive game plan should be probably pretty similar. It's the Hoffman Show. We're on the Team 980. We're always live as well on the free Odyssey app. Happy to take some calls next, 301-230-0980 on the Ace Law listener line. We also got some more sound from EB, some more sound from Jack Del Rio here on The Hoffman Show. I feel like I need to ask this, but, like, between that, trying to run a slant to Bijan on the critical play of the game, like, how much of this is Atlanta, like, giving you some gifts that you take advantage of? Like, they still won. It counts in the standings the same. But, like, to me, one of the players of the game for Washington is Arthur Smith, both play caller Arthur Smith and head coach Arthur Smith.
Yeah, I think the thing with Arthur Smith is, like, when you look at this offense, man, it is complex. They do a lot of stuff, a lot of different personnel, a lot of motion shifts, a lot of kind of trickerations, a lot of multiple cadence things, and that takes time, a lot of cans. Like, that offense is in for Desmond Ridder. Like, there's no, it's not like, dip your feet in the cold end or the warm end of the pool and kind of walk your way in. Now, that offense is 100% in, and I think, everyone talks about maybe the simplicity, or something I've read, the simplicity of this offense, EB's offense, and how there's not a lot on Sam Howell's plate. I think it's kind of the reverse there. I think everything's on the plate, and sometimes there's just too much to eat, too much to look at, and it really is hard for a young quarterback. I think you see that's one of the reasons you see the delay of game. They, on the interception, they almost have another delay of game, like 2 plays in a row. Like that's
they
bad.
have one after a spike.
Yeah, that's bad process, and I think there's too much. I would say if I was advising Arthur Smith, just after watching this game from the 1,000-foot view, I would say there's too much in. You got to trim it down a little bit. I know there's a lot of stuff you like, a lot of stuff you feel really good about, but let's trim it back a little bit for the young guy. Let's get him really confident and comfortable with what's going on.
Of the fumbles this year have happened Logan Thomas, Antonio Gibson, when guys are going second, third efforts offensively.
I got a funny story about that. Want to hear a funny story?
When do I not want to hear a funny story?
In 2013, I had like the weirdest. Someone told me this, and I don't even know if this is true, but someone came to me in our stats department and said, "Hey, Logan, you have the most fumble recoveries from your own team of anybody in the division." I said, "That's a weird statistic," but it wasn't like I was trying to go out and recover all these fumbles. Like, my mindset was just like, I'm not a good football player. Like, I'm well aware of that. Like, it was just play as hard as you can for as long as you can was really my philosophy. And so you're around the ball, you're blocking somebody, you're around the pile, I'm in the shot, and the ball pops down. It's like, oh, I'm just going to jump on that because it's right there. And so it can lead to good things, very productive things. And I think I had four fumble recoveries that year just being near the pile.
It's the Hoffman Show. We're on the Team 980. We're always live as well on the free Odyssey app. Anthony, are we going to have to do the thing where we shame the callers?
Possiblemente.
So here's the question. I can at least re-ask a good old phone sports radio question before we start shaming them. Is that a fine? It's kind of a false start.
I don't think it was a fine because I hit the stack to go to the execute workflow, so it's supposed to, turn off the song, and
but
then
it
turn
fades. You got to make sure that it's down.
I can't listen to the cue. In the stack.
Just give it a second. I'm not gonna find. Right. It's not a penalty this time. I mean, that really should be a false start. It's an illegal shift on Anthony. But I also know you're battling some demons over there. The engineers are working on it. They're doing great work. The amount of stuff that gets broken around here, and then they got to fix it. I just want to know why Matt Essig's breaking stuff. That's really what I want to know.
Oh, it is his fault.
I think definitely. Rooster. Oh, he's on a call right now. I just see Chris Russell out there talking with his hands. Got headphones in. I don't know whether he's doing a TV hit. There's no telling what that man's doing. But he's out there. And when he's done talking to whoever he's talking to on his laptop screen, I'm gonna have to ask him, why is your producer breaking stuff? And it might be because he has to deal with the rooster every day. Just saying.
That's fair.
Tough gig. Tough gig that Madison's got. I'm just killing everybody. What is wrong with me, Anthony? Can I just be nice? Can I just be a good teammate?
You might be tired, man.
I am exhausted.
Yeah, I think that's what it is.
Is it like I don't know what's happening. I just feel like every week by like Thursday, I can't sleep towards the end of the week either.
I can't sleep.
I don't know what's going on. Like Monday through Wednesday, I can sleep in past 7 easy. And like that's where I'm at in life. If I sleep in past 7, if I roll over and I see a 7 something on my phone, I'm like, we did it. We did it. I am at a point that whatever, I don't know what it is. Like last night, got up like 3 times in the middle of the night, rolled over, still 6:50. Like, what are we doing? Yeah. And then Friday, like Rachel coaches really early, and I have time to go back to sleep, and I can't. Like the amount of times that I'm just like, screw it, I'm going to get up and go have my coffee at 6:45 in the morning. Because, or like, I don't know, let me just be productive and get some work done and cut some YouTube videos or, get some stuff ready for the weekend, whatever it is. I can't freaking sleep, man. And it's Thursday and Friday. Saturday, I sleep in again. I'm fine. Sunday, I'm like back on a regular schedule. I don't know, maybe Saturday, just like the relaxation of I have my one day off. I don't know what it is. Maybe I need a sleep doctor.
I mean, you're going to sleep pretty early. You're waking up,
I mean, last night I didn't, but.
Yeah, I mean, aside from last night, I think.
I mean, still, even though I did, we were probably still asleep by like 11:30.
Which is very good.
Yeah.
I wasn't.
It was hilarious because Van Pelt did SportsCenter after the game, and I was like, I cannot, because normally he's on at midnight. I was like, I literally do not remember the last time that I saw Scott Van Pelt doing SportsCenter live because I am never awake at that time. And if I am, I'm immediately going to bed after. But I was like, no, I want some of this post-game coverage. Yeah, my Whoop says I was asleep by 11:46 last night.
Wow. It's pretty early.
What time do you normally go to bed?
It varies. If I'm working out, I haven't really been working out because I hurt my shoulders.
You still got legs.
I may or may not skip leg day.
Maybe you wouldn't get hurt as much if you didn't skip leg day.
That too. But if I'm working out, I'll probably go to sleep around.
A producer who skips leg day.
11. I'll probably go to sleep around 10:30, 11 if I'm working out. If not, I'm not going to sleep.
You're also a late workout guy. You work out after the show.
I work out in the morning.
So why does that affect what time you go to bed? Oh, because you got to get up.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I usually work out at 8 a.m. and I probably roll out of bed at like 7:35. And I got to walk like 100 feet to get to my gym.
I see.
Yeah. But if I'm not working out, I go to sleep 1:30, somewhere around there.
Just cause?
I watch I watch an episode of Suits.
Oh, so you've gotten into. How do you like Suits?
I love Suits. I'm on season 4 right now. I just started season 4. I don't want to ruin it for anybody, but
I always do think that's kind of funny.
It is crazy.
I do think it's kind of funny when we do like this. How could you spoiler that show for me? Oh, the one that came out in 2017?
Yeah.
At this point,
that came out a long time ago.
Yeah, it was a long time. I mean,
it was like 2008 maybe. 2009.
Was it really that long ago?
I think so. Because that's when Meghan Markle got famous.
Right. No, I know that. I mean, well, fame is relative. Like, she was well known for her role in Suits, obviously. But she also, like, the level of fame you are as a British royal, or now former British royal, is obviously very different.
Yeah. When did it come out?
2011.
Oh, 2011.
So season 4, your season that you're currently on, was 2014, 2015.
Yeah.
So it debuted in June of 2011.
Dang.
And then it ended in 2019.
It ended that late?
Yeah.
Ooh.
Because, like, Meghan Markle,
She got written off the show. Had to.
well, yeah. I mean, if you watch the Netflix doc, the Harry and Meghan Netflix doc, like, like, life became untenable for her.
Dang.
And it was awful. Like, the stuff she had to deal with, man, the paparazzi. That's like a whole other situation. I don't understand how paparazzi is legal. Like, I know it's public, some of it's like public spaces and stuff, but you're not allowed to like follow people around. That's stalking.
Yeah, it is.
But also, it's a reminder that stalking laws are terrible and that mostly women have to deal with that kind of stuff, but men too. Like, it's terrifying. It's not cool. Not okay. Anyway, yeah, they married in 2018. So it's probably like, she's got to be still in the show from where you're watching season 4, right?
Where I am, but
She's probably starting to disappear.
well, I don't know. She just got into a huge argument with my man Mike. So
Oh.
yeah, so maybe they continue to live together or they break up. I don't know.
Yeah.
Dang, that is crazy. She gets written off the show. I think she was an important piece.
Yeah, mid 2016. So you got a couple more seasons of Meghan Markle
Okay.
on Suits. Anthony's watching Suits. It was kind of funny that Suits just, like, that doc came out and they were kind of in the news again and everything. And then people are like, I know what we'll do. We'll watch Suits.
Yeah.
And that became the show of the summer 5 years after it left the air.
Suits is crazy. Lewis Litt. I love Lewis. I didn't like him at first.
There's another show that
despise
just happened to as well. Like, we just watched some documentary and then Netflix was like, watch this next. And we were like, oh, that is an interesting recommendation. What did we just watch?
Breaking Bad.
No. We just watched the Beckham documentary. Was it something around that? I don't know. Anyway, Netflix sometimes has a sense of humor. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
That's all I'm saying.
That's how I end my night, though. What
Okay.
are episodes of Suit that may turn into 2 or 3.
All right, we'll get back to the Commanders. Some thoughts from Jack Del Rio on Emmanuel Forbes and what should they do with the rookie. It's the Hoffman Show on the Team 980 and always live as well on the free Odyssey app. Top of the hour, we'll talk to Shaun Morash from WFAN in New York. We'll check in on the Giants side of things on this Commanders-Giants preview Thursday. Of course, tomorrow, got our keys to the game. We'll have all kinds of stuff. We'll have Shaun's old boss, Damon Mendelara, on the show. So we got all kinds of fun stuff tomorrow, our usual Football Friday. It's also the last Wizards preseason game day. So we'll get Dave Johnson on the show tomorrow. But today, though, we got Mraz. We got a little take command for you, some thoughts on Sam Howell and how to fix some of the sack issues. So we'll get to all of that coming up later on in the show. Right now, though, perhaps the most interesting question going into the weekend is, what do the Commanders do with Emmanuel Forbes? They might not have much of a choice. Kendall Fuller missed practice again today, 2 straight days of DNP for the starting corner. So Forbes might have to get out there out of necessity. I mean, obviously they could put someone else out there, but there's no way they have a better option than Emmanuel Forbes on the bench other than Fuller and St. Juste, obviously, and then Danny Johnson as well. But, like, once you get down to your 4th, 5th string guys, and especially, by the way, Christian Holmes also hurt. Emmanuel Forbes definitely the next best option, and this could be a good opportunity to get him back in. Although it's scary because the one way the Giants beat you is with big plays, and he's been the guy who's given up the most big plays because they're not going to beat you if they've got to go down in and down out. They don't have a good enough offensive line. So Jack Del Rio, obviously pretty mum on specifics because that's how Jack Del Rio is, but was asked about the plan going forward for Forbes today.
We'll see. He's maintained a very good disposition, work ethic, the things that we want to see in terms of, preparing and working. And, that's a fluid situation.
So Jack obviously answering that, knowing he doesn't want to say like, oh yeah, no, we're good to keep him in the wings for now because he might have to play this weekend. So you want to build him up, you got to do that. And there is this balance of developing a young player, but also making sure that you don't crush his confidence.
Yeah, there's a balance there, but I'm pretty much straightforward with guys. I communicate very openly. It's never personal. And we're looking to get our team ready to go out and win. And we're going to use everybody we can, and everybody's going to be challenged, and we're going to play the guys that earn it.
Obviously, there is also the reality that this guy's your first-round pick. And so you've got to make sure that you don't lose him long-term because that's a valuable asset. And you drafted him because you think he can be a really, really good football player. Now, part of the reason, especially the position that we're talking about here, corner, that you think a guy's going to be good is that he's mentally tough. And Rivera, as in Ron, as in the head coach, as if I need to identify that further, was asked yesterday about Forbes' ability to handle this situation so far.
He's a natural corner. I mean, he understands and gets, that you have to be ready to move on to the next thing. And in the meantime, you just do the best you can and get yourself ready to go.
I think one of the things that's been really impressive about Emmanuel, I was impressed with his disposition and all of that stuff in training camp. Like, you watch the guy go about his business, and if he gets beat, he gets beat. He's highly competitive. Like, he is talking a little bit of smack, but he never backs down. And he also has a maturity in the way he handles the press and answers questions and seems to be engaged with his teammates. Like, there's a maturity there to his football brain, his football IQ that I think is great. Like, it's part of the reason you draft that kid in the first round. I mean, you see some of the behind-the-scenes video in the Commanders Log show that they do on YouTube of the draft meeting with he and Rivera and everybody else in the room, and the way he talks to everybody, the way he's engaged. Like, this is a highly, highly intelligent and seemingly highly emotionally intelligent young man from everything that we have been allowed to see, everything that we can gather. He's just got like an it factor that is great. He's still 170 pounds trying to play corner in the NFL as a rookie and seeing a bunch of new stuff and trying to figure out how to play. And it's hard. Like, that's the reality of the position. He's playing one of the hardest positions to transition to in the league. Defenses are complex. Receivers are bigger, stronger. And I think specifically for his play style, because of his body type, like, it's going to be a little bit harder of a transition than some other guys might have, but it's hopefully, if you're Washington, worth it in the long term because his upside, the stuff that you can't teach, the stuff that you can't work on with him, the ball skills, the anticipation, the intellect is at such a ridiculously high level. So Rivera yesterday talked about like this balance that they're trying to weave here of how do we make sure that we win games now versus develop Emmanuel Forbes when those two things seem to be in conflict for the current place that Forbes is and the current Commanders.
Well, it's that. I mean, we look at certain things and we know what he can bring to the table. We've seen it. And so it's about trying to find that balance of, you get to a certain situation and say, you know what, let's sit him for a while, let's let him grow. I mean, we went through the same thing with Jamin, and look at him now. I mean, the young man's really come a long way. He's done some really good things for us, and we're pretty excited about who he's become. And I would say the same thing about Emmanuel. It's going to take a little bit of time sometimes. And as he grows and to what David's point and your point as well is that, there is a certain spot where, it is about winning. And we went through that my very first season. We tried something my first 4 weeks and I just felt, you know what, I owe it to doing, something different. And I did.
Of course, that was talking about Dwayne Haskins as well. It's like they were like, this is untenable. This is not going to work. And, not that you can really compare a quarterback and a cornerback in so many ways, but like from this is untenable standpoint, like Emmanuel Forbes through 6 weeks of the NFL, despite the fact that he played 0 snaps last week, has given up more yards than everyone in the league but one other defensive back. Like, we talk about the big plays, you talk about the stuff that hurts his defense, he's been the main culprit. And even though I think a lot of those he might have played well, or like he's in good position and just has a play made on him, or someone else could have helped him out a little bit, or I didn't like the coverage call that put him in that spot. Like, you can make all of these, we call them excuses, give all these reasons, these explanations, however you want to frame it. Like, them still the facts. Like, he was playing at a level that was causing them to, or heavily contributing to them losing football games. And if that's the case, you can't play, especially when you have another option that's good. And that brings us all the way back to this weekend. How do they make sure that he's in positions to succeed? And that is going to be an interesting question. And one of the YouTube comments we got that I don't even know if we got to it and Never Read the Comments yesterday, but I thought it was interesting on one of the videos that mentioned Forbes was Del Rio called a more aggressive blitz package last week. I think that's a good idea this week for multiple reasons. One, the Giants O-line stinks. And while the temptation might be to just let your front four eat and be like, oh, these guys have it under control, make sure you win. Make sure you get pressure. And you saw last week in gotta have it situations that they did that, even though they liked their matchups, and they always are going to along the front. If you can guarantee yourself some pressure, what does that do for your back end? It makes it easier to cover. And so for a guy like Forbes, whose skill set is let's go get the ball, let's jump routes, let's play with anticipation, I would continue to bring the heat, and I would live with the results. If Kendall Fuller can't play, that to me even cements that as a pressure game plan. Go get after Tyrod Taylor or Daniel Jones. This O-line can't handle it. It makes the job easier on the back end. And I think that there's a great chance that you wind up creating an opportunity or two for Emmanuel Forbes to do the things that you brought him here for. And how great would that be for his confidence? I mean, maybe it's a double-edged sword if we're being honest, because, oh, yeah, I get to jump routes now. See, it works. And then, you get hit with another double move, and you're like, yeah. But can you get his confidence back up? Can you put him in positions to succeed? And frankly, like, is that the position to succeed for the rest of the year? It's like, hey, let's get him out there in certain passing situations where we know we're going to be bringing some pressure. And that's how we play these situations now. And you bring it from different places. You simulate it at times. You do all kinds of different stuff so that you're not predictable. But hey, let's get him out there when we know the ball's got to get out quick because we know this dude is going to make some plays because that's what we brought him here for. And he can continue to learn the speed of the game and slowly expand his playbook and go from there. It's the Hoffman Show. We're on the Team 980. We're always live as well on the free Odyssey app. When we get back, Shaun Morash is going to join us from New York. It is time for Not My Beat. Giants Insider joins us next. One other thing you mentioned on the positive side for Washington is the physicality of the defensive line.
Yeah.
They have ultimately 5 sacks in the game. And I think between what they did in the run game and those 5 sacks, like, you see they looked a lot more like them. And I think, one, John Allen played a lot better and was noticeable. But also, your boy, Casey Tuhill,
showed up,
monster day. FA's in there making plays. Like, I think the depth in the rotation, they got it right this week, really, for the first time. I'm curious once we see the snap counts, but it kind of allowed them to play with the effort that we've been looking for because they did rotate it more. Those guys were fresher, and even at the end of the game, like, they're some hands on hips in that final drive, and you're like, ooh, man, are they finally going to wear out? Because they were on the field for damn near 80 plays by the end of it.
Right.
But as a total, at that point, even if you're playing 60 plays, like, it's only 3 quarters. But I do feel like they got that more correct in this game than they have all season.
No, I agree.
And the results were there.
No, I agree. I think it's, the proof is in the pudding, and I think you get good production from the backup guys. James, again, you got to watch it more. I thought James flashed at times with some good physicality. And like having those guys in is important. Like, they're NFL players, and I think if you can get a rotation going and elevate Montez and Chase and some of the other guys on the end, it helps everybody. So it'll be cool to kind of see those snap counts and see who was effective and who wasn't. But ultimately, I think like that they've kind of laid a roadmap moving forward. Be an elite team. Like, look at the Kansas City Chiefs when they got to have it. That offense is like, they are excellent at chewing clock, managing the game from an offensive perspective, and I think that's where I would say this outing from the Commanders falls a little short. Not that anybody played poorly, I think that's an important thing to note too. Is like, overall, I think if you were to go through and be like, that's pretty good, that's pretty good, that's pretty good, and you go down the list, but ultimately, like, there's a reason you're going 3 and out, 5 and out in the second half. And I think when we have the all 22, we'll be able to touch on that a little bit more.
It's the Hoffman Show on the Team 980, always live as well on the free Odyssey app. It is time for Not My Beat, the time of day where we bring in an expert on the day's top story. Our top story today, of course, the Commanders getting ready to play the Giants. Also, reminder, we are finally doing it. Anthony, are you ready for 5:30?
No. The question is, are you ready for 5:30?
Not yet. I got to finish some notes.
Okay, cool.
But at 5:30, we've been teasing this all week. In fact, I feel like we've been teasing it for 2 weeks.
We have.
We are bringing back our NFL tiers. Who are the prime contenders? Who is not quite there? Who is kind of interesting, but not actually that relevant? And who flat out stinks? Those are the tiers. We rank every team in the NFL in those categories starting at 5:30. Right now, though, it is time for Not My Beat.
Today's top story from the perspective of someone who's there.
You are looking live.
This just in. Not My Beat.
Shaun Morash, who is on afternoons WFAN in New York, Evan and Tiki show, and of course hosts the One Giant Step podcast with us. Formerly producer of the DA show. That's where the name might sound familiar, but the title a little bit different. He's now more awake because he doesn't have to wake up at the crack of dawn. You and DA both got new gigs. He still has to wake up early. You're in the afternoons now. I think you won that battle.
So I might have, though he gets to work a lot less. He has an hour less of a show. I work even more.
That's true.
So all the years of him telling me he was a harder worker than me, I don't think so anymore, Craig.
We'll bring that up when he's on tomorrow with us because he's doing. We're still beating him up every Friday to come on the show. So we'll bring that up with him tomorrow. Of course, have you on here on Giants Week, and man, it has been a rough, ugly, terrible, no good season for the Giants so far. They probably played their best game of the season, though, against Buffalo. At least defensively, seems like some things are starting to come together. The offense, I don't even know if I want to talk about it. I don't know if I want to do that to you because we're friends, and that just seems like a mean thing to do to a friend. But defensively, I think there is a really interesting matchup here with how the Giants play and how the Commanders struggle at times to handle pressure. Like, what do you think the Giants do defensively this weekend? And do you think that they're starting to coalesce a little bit as a unit?
They're definitely coming together. Now, the problem is the sack totals are still low. They have 5 sacks all year, 4 of them from Kayvon Thibodeau, who isn't even playing great himself, especially, in run defense. But I think where the defense is coming along right now, Craig, is, first of all, rookie corner, the first rounder, Deonte Banks, has been unbelievably great in coverage. He had a mishap on Monday Night Football a few weeks ago versus DK Metcalf in the end zone. But other than that, he has been such a pleasant surprise. And I think that the back end of the defense with the Dory Jackson himself and Xavier McKinney has really just come along strong. And linebacker play. I mean, if you watch the game on Sunday night, their free agent signing Bobby Okereke was all over the field. Micah McFadden's been excellent as far as not missing tackles and run production, but they missed a lot of tackles the first 3 weeks as a unit. Now they're just wrapping up, and I think it's really come together. And geez, even in the Miami game 2 weeks ago, it was just more about Miami's speed than anything that killed the Giants. But, fundamentally, I think they're getting back to what worked last year.
Is Wink still blitzing at the rates that he has? I mean, I'm guessing so because that's always what he's been, and it kind of fluctuates team to team. But
not really though, Craig. I gotta be honest. So I think in the early parts of the season, and look, it's hard to take anything away from week 1 versus Dallas. I mean, the offense basically turned it over. Then they had a block kick, and you never got a feel week 1. But I think he was scared of the rookie corners. They had Deonte Banks, as they just mentioned. They had started Trey Hawkins as a 6th-round corner the first 3 weeks, and he's been subsequently benched now as they moved Dory Jackson back to the outside. And Lots played a lot of nickel here. I think he was trying to protect against those guys in ISO and burning them. The last 2 weeks, we've seen a little more blitzes. The problem is they're just not getting home. Dexter Lawrence is wreaking some havoc in the middle, and Kayvon Thibodeau on the outside, as I mentioned. But whether it's sending a Xavier McKinney or a Dory Jackson, last year they would get home a ton. They have not gotten home on any of these blitzes. They've been stonewalled. Offensive lines have done a good job picking up the stunts and the protection. So the blitzes have picked up a little more the last 2 weeks, but not nearly what we saw in a typical Wink Martindale defense a year ago.
That's interesting. And if I had to put money on Jing at some point, I would put it on this weekend because the Commanders have just really not been good. Yeah. And if Wink's starting to trust the back end, like it seems like that probably ramped back up.
Well, and do the math, right? I mean, this isn't an excuse because the Giants have played some ugly football, might have lost to any team the first couple of weeks, but I mean, they went through a gauntlet, whether it was Dallas, whether it was San Francisco. Obviously, Arizona's the only game they won. It's Miami, Buffalo, Seattle. They've played all these prominent playoff teams, most of which with prominent quarterbacks. I think that, as much as Sam Howell looks like, at least to us watching, there's a lot of promise there. He can hold on to the ball a little too long, take some sacks. He's been up there in sack totals with the Giants quarterbacks as well. I think that this is a week that Wink is basically salivating on, especially just to, give his defense a little pat on the back after what they did versus Buffalo to, basically go out there and eat and try to sack the heck out of Sam Howell.
Shaun Morash joining us here on the Hoffman Show, giving us an authentic experience live from a train. You can hear the classic bing bong in the background. That is really, just chef's kiss, Shaun, chef's kiss.
Well, Craig, I'm a hard hat, and if that means I continue to work while going to work on a commuter train, that's the kind of guy. Not the kind of
hey, we appreciate the time. I know your schedule is compact, so we'll take it when we can get it. And if we get a little ambiance, then honestly, I think it's a bonus. So that's where I'm at with it.
I agree.
This is me buttering you up to then make you talk about the Giants offense.
That's fine.
Man, it is.
Where do you want to begin?
I feel like we have to start with the line. Like, the offensive line has been the worst offensive line in football by basically every metric. What has gone so wrong for it after they were good enough last year to make Daniel Jones and Saquon Barkley and Brian Dable was scribbling up into a very highly functional offense?
It's not sexy, but it's the truth. And the truth is injuries, and prominently one big injury. In the first quarter of week 1, Sunday Night Football versus Dallas, Andrew Thomas, who's one of the 3 best left tackles in football, pulled his hamstring the rest of the Dallas game, and we have not seen him since. He had a setback ahead of the Seattle game. He's not going to play. I mean, they haven't ruled him out, but he hasn't practiced. Doesn't think he's going to play again this week. It crippled the entire team. I would argue that is the one injury that crippled the season. I could make the case outside of almost every team's quarterback, Andrew Thomas might be the most important player to his team in the Giants in terms of, you could function as an offense with him. You literally cannot move the ball without him. Now, a part of that is the disaster Dave Gettleman left behind, on top of Joe Shane maybe missing on Evan Neal at right tackle. But they don't have good enough depth anywhere. I mean, Justin Pugh had to play significant time at left tackle last week after being on the couch the week before. And they had a third-round guard in Josh Azudu, who's now on IR. Him have to play tackle. He's never done that in his life. They were so thin. They didn't even carry a swing tackle at a training camp. So to lose, forget any tackle, like the only great offensive lineman they had, who was basically Daniel Jones' security blanket. He trusted nothing without Thomas. I derailed this entire season back. Now, every team overcomes injuries, and those teams are deeper and better. And clearly, we learned the Giants weren't deep enough to overcome this injury, and it has sunk their season.
Yeah, they can't seem to run it, can't seem to throw it. On the running side, like, is that surprising that you can't at least figure out a way, or they can't at least figure out a way to get some movement up front?
Yes and no. Now, I made the case about Andrew Thomas, but they've had other injuries to the line as well. Their center, John Michael Schmitz, a second rounder, who's a guy everybody thought would kind of maul up in the run game. He's missed the last couple weeks. Evan Neal's been lost at right tackle. It just kind of feels like, and then they've had to slide their other best run blocker, Ben Bredesen, from guard to center, and now he struggled at center. It kind of feels like everybody who could have been in place is now out of place, and they just have no cohesive chemistry in the run blocking game. Also, Saquon Barkley, who I get very hot and cold on, he finally returned last week after not playing since week 2, and you saw, him turn out 93 yards on the ground, 2 of which were on big runs. So it's kind of amazing, man, because running back should be, a plug-and-go position, as you see with so many teams. Their running back goes down, and the Giants, whether it's Matt Breida or fifth-round rookie running back Eric Gray, I don't know what it is, and I guess it's partially the offensive line with no holes to run through. But again, the fact that they don't have anybody that could have picked up steam with Saquon out and find those holes is disheartening.
Yeah, I mean, Saquon's special, and sometimes, like, as devalued as running back is, you watch a guy like Saquon work, and you're like, I don't know, maybe he is worth something. Probably some semblance of a talent there.
And by the way, Craig,
Yeah.
I mean, there's a chance this could be Saquon Barkley's last game as the Giants too, versus Washington. If the Commanders come out of this win, the Giants didn't sign him long term. You know, they go to 1-6. You have to really start thinking about sell-offs, and he might be the most prominent piece to get you a third-round pick or something. So something to keep an eye on, too, as far as the Giants running the ball. The Commanders could get the last dance here of Saquon in a Giant uniform.
That is very interesting. And you think of what, like, Carolina got for McCaffrey last year. Could a team, you know, obviously not San Francisco, but one of these teams that is more run-heavy.
Buffalo,
like
right, Cleveland, Baltimore, those guys, those teams who have lost backs. All of that on the table.
For sure. Shaun Morash with us here on the Hoffman Show, afternoons, WFAN in New York, and the One Giant Step podcast. Daniel Jones has been a Hall of Fame level player when he's played the Commanders, and he's been Daniel Jones against everyone else. First of all, what do we know about his injury status, and what chances do you give him behind this O-line to continue his absurd hot streak against Washington if he does get back there this week?
Again, we are cool. We're doing this interview. It's a Thursday. I would be stunned if he played. Now, I don't think he's as far off. I know people are freaking out. Could it be season-ending because he had a season-ending neck injury 2 years ago? That was also season-ending because it was the last 6 weeks of the year and the season had gotten away. I would be stunned. I brought up Andrew Thomas earlier. I don't have any proof of this, but I kind of get the vibe they don't want him with his neck taking another hit or taking another snap until Andrew Thomas is out there, because even they know the deficiencies. And frankly, look, I think Tyrod Taylor left a lot to be desired on the field, but he wasn't a complete disaster in terms of finding open receivers. And I think he's a guy whose mental clock hasn't been sped up and completely scrambled by the terrible O-line play. I think that you're getting both a legitimate neck injury and a mental break here for Daniel Jones. And as much as you lit up the Commanders, I don't think they want to put him out there until he knows he has his protection in his left tackle back. So I'd be stunned if he's on the field.
All right, last thing for you on the way out. Like, do people in New York / do you think this is a chance to get right for the Giants, or do they think that, like, our division opponent is about to mollywop us?
In many ways is the most interesting week of the Giants season, Craig, because I think at the core, there's so many of us who are disgusted by what happened, and borderline stunned and shocked. This is a team that did go to the divisional round. Even if, the outsiders weren't high on the team, I think many thought they would, even if it's not taking the next step, be right back in the mix in a wide open NFC. The schedule has hurt them. The injuries have hurt them. But they are about to embark on a piece of the schedule with your Commanders, with the Jets, say what you want to say, Zach Wilson's still their quarterback, and followed with the Raiders. I think that if you're going to have optimism, I think people realize the Giants win this game. There's an opening there for them to rattle off a couple here, feel good about themselves, and be heading into Dallas in mid-November with a chance to get back to 500. I think it's a real pivot point. And if they lose, as I mentioned with the Saquon Barkley thing, I think the sell-off is on. This, oddly, I think it's the most important game to date of the Joe Shane regime in terms of building the team. I know they made the playoffs and they had a lot of important games last year, but it's a pivot point because you can go into full tank mode where maybe you do enter that Caleb Williams, Drake May discussion, or you pull back and you say we have it in us and maybe we can become the Lions of last year. So I think it's cautious optimism, and I think everybody just wants to see some good football for a change on Sunday, and that's the only thing we're clinging on to.
Yeah, I am scared this is going to be just a hideous game both ways. It's a personal fear, but we'll see.
Craig, I'll be in the house, and I was there last year for the tie, so who knows if we get another tie.
Oh God, they've played some of the worst football games of the last decade are Washington, New York Giants football games.
Would it shock you? Would it shock you if this game's 12-9? Wouldn't shock me.
No, not at all. I mean, I've been there for some of the Week 17 disasters. Obviously, those went in New York's favor, but they were still ugly football games. And then the king of them all, we talked about this one on Take Command because Logan played in it, is the Kyle Shanahan knows he and his dad are getting fired game in 2013 and decides in the cold driving rain he's going to throw the ball damn near 50 times. I think Kirk Cousins was
forgot about that game. Yeah.
Kirk was 19 of 53 in that game or something.
Insane. I mean, they have played some bad games. But, hey, I'll be in the house, so I'm sure it'll be a nice field goal fest, and I'll sit 3 hours of traffic on the way home.
And that's just to get out of the parking lot. Shaun Morash with us here on the Hoffman Show. Check him out afternoons on WFAN, which, of course, you can listen to on the free Odyssey app and the One Giant Step podcast on the Odyssey app and your favorite podcast platforms as well. Always appreciate it, Mraz. Thank you.
All right, Craig, and remember, if you guys win, you may be the reason the Giants have Caleb Williams torturing you for the next 15 years. So enjoy it.
Oh, that hurts.
To warn you, bro, it is a mess in downtown Nashville every day of the week and twice on Sunday. Not even
we moved hotels the next night. I still am waiting on my refund for that. But yeah, we moved hotels the second night.
Wow.
It was fun. You say they rely on them. We went to brunch with my buddy the next day, who is a Nashville native and has lived in Nashville long enough that he remembers when it was more than just the bachelorette capital of the world. And he's like, yeah, we're pretty much on the woo girl economy.
Yeah, that's precisely what's going on. The downtown businesses cater to that. If you try to get it shut down, you're probably the one getting thrown out. It is what it is right now. It's weird, but Nashville, baby. What are you gonna do?
Yeah. So I will add one more small part to this story, and this is the part, frankly, that I've been waiting to tell you all week as well. That was kind of part one. We got quality Yates reaction. Part two, as we leave the hotel the next morning to go to breakfast. Remember, the wall's very thin. So it's not going where you think it's going. But as we walk down the hallway, my dear sweet wife just starts saying in a slightly elevated volume of voice, you know, it's been proven that the later groups stay out and make noise and all this stuff at their bachelorette weekend, the higher the divorce rate.
Oh God!
In the wedding,
so
and also the better
trash,
chances,
basically.
and also the better chances.
Wow. Okay. Okie dokie. So Rachel was pissed, basically.
Yeah, she didn't have a lot of tolerance for the woo girls. They say on the internet, like, feel free to post stuff, like your friends' photos, do whatever. But like whatever you do for your own well-being, don't read the comments. Comment section, bad idea. What do we do?
We read those comments, baby.
That is exactly what we do. That was a little bit better. I still feel like that one was a little muted. I think sometimes it feels like you build yourself up a little too much, and then sometimes you don't quite go for it.
I ain't want to go screaming all the way. The thing is, though, my mic is a little lower than yours, so maybe I could have actually, did what I really.
Mic also moves. You can go, ooh. Did you know you could play tricks with a microphone?
I think I'll try that next time.
Okay. You want to give another shot?
We read those comments, baby.
There we go. All right. I feel ready now. All right, our much-awaited NFL tiers coming up in 8 minutes. But, Anthony, I just love when I feel like, oh, man, I crushed that segment. Best segment we did all show, which, like, the interview with Mraz was great. So best solo segment of the show so far I thought was 445, talking about Emmanuel Forbes. And, man, they might have to play this weekend, all this kind of stuff. Never mind. Never mind. Ben Standig and crew in the locker room. Standig just tweeted out, Kendall Fuller, I'm playing this weekend. So Kendall Fuller is good to go. Apparently the 2 missed days of practice were just part of the planned maintenance for his knee because he's quote-unquote old. That's me saying quote-unquote old, not him saying quote-unquote old. In NFL terms, he's old at the ripe age of what? He's 29, 30. And so... good news, everybody. Kendall Fuller's playing this weekend. Yeah.
See, Craig, during the show, I like to put up segments that we do throughout the show.
Mm-hmm.
And I definitely put up this segment about.
On the podcast feed?
Yeah.
I was definitely planning on cutting that as a show highlight for YouTube.
Yeah. So, maybe I'll reword it.
Before Craig knew anything. I mean, all the Forbes stuff is still relevant. It's just looked at through a different lens, and it just makes you want to.
Yep, pretty much. Yeah.
I think no, Anthony.
I can't scream.
I'm afraid to right now. My throat's like on danger zone.
Yeah, I'd rather not even try.
That was better.
Yeah.
It sounded more like someone having a good time than someone being frustrated. I just to go to that place right now would be a bad deal for me. I probably, unless you're ready to host the rest of the show.
No.
Then I think I should probably pass on the screaming.
Yeah.
Screaming last night in the Hoffman household. That's for sure. Real quick before we go to break and come back with the NFL tiers. Definite tears last night as we watched our girl Alicia Clark, who's one of, if those don't know by now, not a regular listener, Alicia Clark, the Las Vegas Aces guard, is someone I've known since we were children, not actual children, college-age children, when we were at Middle Tennessee State together. And when she came to D.C., we reconnected, and her and my wife became very, very good friends. They refer to themselves as sisters now, and we got to see our girl win her 3rd WNBA title last night. And I'm so happy that she got that interview with Holly Rowe after the game. I mean, obviously, everyone's piled on top of each other. I wonder how Alicia, I haven't had a chance to talk to her about it yet. We obviously texted a little bit last night and this morning. I told her, it was funny because we texted her last night. We woke up to some responses this morning. And I responded to that by saying, when you read this, start drinking electrolytes, because they were hammered by the time they got to the press conference. Because that's the thing people don't realize about winning a championship, right? Is LeBron talked about this after he won in Miami. And in that case, that was a long, long playoff run. They won Game 7. They had the Game 6 Ray Allen shot. As much basketball as you can play, right? Think of the hardest workout you've ever done and then go chug champagne. You have nothing in your system. There's no, what do you do when you're going to go out and drink for a night? Maybe you have a little pasta, a little bread, a little something to make sure you got something to sit in there that you don't get insta drunk.
Nope.
Okay, forget that. You're going to go play the hardest basketball game you've ever played in your life, and then you're going to pound the champagne. That you're going to get drunk so fast. And if you watched the Aces press conference last night, which was full-on hysteria, hilarity, boy, did they. And but before that, before all the champagne, before the trophy ceremony, emotional Alicia with Holly Rowe after the game. And Holly, I think, did a tremendous job of talking about the team, but also bringing up why Alicia was so emotional, which was that she lost her pops about within the last year. And it's been tremendously hard for her. They were very, very close. And she, this is all stuff that Alicia's talked about publicly, so I'm not spilling my friend's secrets here, but they were very close. And this is kind of a reminder that when we watch sports on all levels, you just never know. And Charles Leno's going to have to go out and play NFL football this weekend, assuming that he is back. He's been back at practice this week. And he lost a child last weekend. His wife had a miscarriage. And we have this moment a couple months ago when they tell him, and it's on camera, and it's very public, hey man, you're about to have your 4th baby. And now he's not. And he's got to, his family is going through that. He's going through that. And he's got to go perform and block Kayvon Thibodeau. That's not very fun. And so the same grief, the same things that we all deal with as human beings, these athletes deal with as well. And the way that Alicia got support from her teammates in Las Vegas, that's such a great group of people they have out there. Asia, KP, some of the lesser known names. I mean, Alicia has gotten to know Candace Parker fairly well because they're both Adidas athletes. And that's part of the reason she definitely went out there. And man, just to see her get that moment for some of the criticism they've faced, which is hilarious because the team they beat probably is more deserving of it, which most of it's silly anyway, the super team stuff. But the 3 most important players on the Las Vegas Aces, they drafted. And it's super team. And it's yeah, it's pretty unfair how good they drafted. Sucks for everyone else. They got the number 1 pick and used it correctly 3 out of 3 times. And then brought in a savvy veteran in Chelsea Gray. And then other players wanted to go there because they built something amazing. Built, not bought. Yeah, what they've done is amazing. So I'm so proud of my friend. I'm so happy for her. I'm so happy for the team, the organization. They've done it right. They've invested. And you see what happens when you give amazing athletes the resources to do stuff. They succeed. And it's a good lesson. I think for anyone in any sport, it's probably been easier in that sport, if we're being blunt, because many teams have been treated like charity projects and not actual things worth investing in. And by the way, the Aces make money too. It's not like, oh yeah, they won, but it cost them. No, Mark Davis is doing just fine on the Aces banking, the bank sheet. But when you look at the Commanders and what hopefully they're going to go through now in the NFL, yeah, every team's getting investment, but the Commanders weren't. On top of all of the other chicanery that Snyder brought on the organization, he didn't invest in them. And now Josh Harris is going to pour money in. So it's exciting to see what they can do, exciting to see what they can build here. But in the meantime, on the more immediate pressing story, not to just hyper-localize it to the team that we spend most of our time talking about, congrats to the Aces. Incredible WNBA season. And it should be even better next year. I'm super pumped about it. And oh, by the way, Anthony, remind me in the break to go pull up all the Wizards predicting that, except for Tyus Jones, that the Liberty were going to win, so I can tweet that out again.
I don't know if they predicted it. I think we were all just rooting for the Liberty. Because if I
that's not what who you got means.
If I really had to bet, I probably would have said the Aces are more than likely going to win, but I'm rooting for the Liberty to win it.
Anthony, you're fired. We'll do our NFL tiers next. It's the Hoffman Show on the Team 980. We're always live as well on the free Odyssey app. All right, so here's what we got. We have been teasing this for the better part of 2 weeks because we have just continued to forget to do it or not had room for it. It's gotten bumped a couple times. But last year, we did this every single week. And I thought it was a good exercise. And so we're going to bring it back. It's our NFL tiers. And we'll update it by the week. And it's just a better way to do power rankings is the short version of this, Anthony. Is like, why are we trying to pretend like at this point or at any point we have a really good feel of exactly who's better than who? But realistically, can we kind of rank teams by group and say these teams live in the same neighborhood, these teams don't? Yeah, I think that's a better and more accurate way to do it. So we're going to bring it back. And these are our tiers. Who are the prime contenders? This is, who do we think, if I tell you the team X won the Super Bowl, you look back and you go, yeah, that makes sense. So that's a high bar. Prime contenders. Next group, who has a puncher's chance? Someone that, if some things go right, maybe other teams get hurt, whatever it may be, they've got a chance to be a contender in January, February. So that's tier 2. Tier 3, interesting, but not quite good enough, which is where most of the league typically winds up. Where, especially this year, where there's just incredible parity in the league. Like, okay, who is not the best teams in the league, but and really they would have to get like dumb lucky. Some other bad stuff would have to happen elsewhere for them to really compete. But like, they're still worth watching every weekend. And then teams that just flat out stink. Teams that they got no chance. So, Anthony, anything you want to add on the setup here before we dive into our tiers?
Craig, I think you did a great job explaining all the tiers again.
Excellent.
Refreshing everybody.
Thank you. All right, so let's get a little music going.
Yes, sir.
And let's do it. Our NFL tiers, starting off with our prime contenders. Prime contender number 1, Miami Dolphins.
Yep.
San Francisco 49ers.
You think so? Yeah.
Is that sarcasm?
Yeah, who am I fooling?
Yeah, you should be better at sarcasm, Anthony. Those are the 200% locks.
Woo!
Then you get into other teams that I think are probably still worth mentioning and probably belong in this category in part because they're definitely better than like the next group.
Mm-hmm.
But I think for the season, the Dolphins and the Niners have the nicest house in the neighborhood. The other teams that I think belong here, the Chiefs and the Eagles, the defending conference champions.
Yep.
And then there are the Detroit Lions.
You're putting the Detroit Lions as prime contenders, or is it a question?
It's kind of a question.
Okay.
But I don't know how much of a question it should be. They're 5-1. They've won 4 in a row. They've already beaten the Chiefs. They're plus 55 on the year, which is the 4th best point differential. Like, they've got a significantly better point differential than the Eagles, even though they have the same record. If we're going based off of these 6 games, the Lions are one of the best teams in football. Jared Goff in the last 17 games is 29 touchdowns to 4 picks.
I understand where you're coming from. Yes, they are one of the best teams statistically, but you look at some of the competition, you got the Bucs, you got the Panthers, the Packers haven't, been too consistent, the Falcons, their lone losses to the Seahawks, who just got, beat up by the Bengals, and then they had an impressive, opening night win against the Chiefs. I think they're pretty good. I don't know if I'm considering them prime contenders. I think they're pretty good, though. I would maybe bump them down to tier 2.
Okay, I'm not mad at that, but like our friend Kim Martin said this on Get Up today, like, are we only doing this because they're the Lions? Probably, But they're still the Lions.
Yes.
And that means that, like, because of who they've been in the past, they don't have necessarily the playoff success or multiple years of this to go on. Now, with that said, like, the Lions were also one of the best teams. We're going to have Alicia Clark tomorrow. That's the text I just got. So sorry for the distraction. We were working on potentially getting her on today, but we're going to do tomorrow. We're going to let her enjoy her championship today. The Lions were the back half of last year one of the best teams in the league. If it was my ranking solely, I would put the Lions in prime contenders based off what we've seen. But I hear you. We're going to put them at the top of puncher's chance. I don't feel so strongly about it that I want to pull the power move here.
Yeah. I mean, okay. I think they're having a great season. They're winning the games that they should be winning.
Yes. So that gets then to the question, are there any of the teams that are, those are all the 5-1 teams. Are there any of the 4-2 teams that also belong in prime contenders? I've got one nominee.
The Bills?
The Buffalo Bills. Although their injury situation on defense makes me...
Oh, that is interesting.
Like, is Matt Milano done for the year?
Yes, he is.
Yeah, that's what I thought. So, like, with him out for the year and some of the other injury issues they have and how they played in their first game without those dudes.
Yeah.
I mean, the Jags game, they obviously lost in London when those guys got hurt early, and then they didn't look that good against the Giants. Look, they're still... They've got, if they're in puncher's chance, they've got the best punch because they've got Josh Allen.
I will put them above the Lions as well.
So you put them in prime contenders? Or would you say they're at the top with... Which would surprise you more, the Lions in the Super Bowl or the Bills in the Super Bowl?
The Lions in the Super Bowl.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think we have to put them in puncher's chance.
Yeah, I like where they are, tier 2.
Okay, so... Here's the rest
tier 1.
Yep, which is how it's supposed to be, right? Like, that's supposed to be a high bar.
Okay.
High bar. Okay, then you got the rest of the 4-2 teams. You got Baltimore. I think they're puncher's chance for sure.
Yep.
Jacksonville.
Yep.
I think they are. Dallas.
Yes.
All right, so that helps if I actually write them down. I'm also doing a mix of cities and team names, which is a terrible way to do this. Jeez, Craig, get some consistency, bro. In the notes. Lions, Bills, Ravens, Cowboys, Jags. Okay. Then you get to the 3-2 and 3-3 teams.
Yep.
So are there any in here that you would put in puncher's chance?
I'm definitely putting the Bengals in there.
Okay. I think that's probably smart because they have Joe Burrow.
They have Joe Burrow, and the last 2 seasons they've started 2-3. So I think they're just used to these slow starts, and then eventually things start to click. They're getting healthy as well, so.
I agree with that. So then the other teams to mention record-wise, 3-2, because they've already had a bye. Bucks, Steelers, Seahawks, Browns.
I think the Browns.
I hate to say it, but I think the Browns belong there because they have the best defense in football.
Yeah, their defense is going crazy. We don't know what's going on.
They are 1 or 2 injuries away on that from being in no chance.
Yeah.
But right now, they're in puncher's chance. Like, they could skip. And it obviously depends on if Watson can ever get his shoulder reattached and his head out of his butt.
Yeah. I still think, the run game is still there. Like, they'll be able to carry them, but the defense is definitely going to be there.
So that's also a team, like, could they trade for Saquon? So there's, like, some – this is why this is fluid. This is where we're at right now.
Yep.
I think we should put the Browns in puncher's chance.
That's a bet.
Okay, so then – we got the rest of the teams to sort out between interesting but not quite good enough and no chance. We'll do that next in the Hoffman Show on the Team 980 and always live as well on the free Odyssey app. It's the Hoffman Show on the Team 980. Always live as well on the free Odyssey app. All right, so we are in the middle of our tiers, NFL style. We got 4 tiers of NFL teams. We got our prime contenders, puncher's chance. In the prime contenders category, Dolphins, Niners, Chiefs, Eagles. Puncher's chance, Lions, Bills, Ravens, Cowboys, Jags, Bengals, Browns. And when we say that out loud, Anthony, this is the thing we would do last year, is like we'd start to say the teams, and then I'd go, no, one of those teams does not belong with the other. I actually think that sounds right. Yeah. Like the Dolphins, Niners, Chiefs, Eagles belong together. Mm-hmm. Mariah Carey style. They belong together. Lions, Bills, Ravens, Cowboys, Jags, Bengals, Browns, they also belong together. Mm-hmm. By the way, the Jags, Bengals, and Browns have belonged together for a long time. How about them being towards the top as opposed to being at the bottom? Yeah. And the Lions as well. So good for them. All right, interesting, but not quite good enough. This is where the bulk of the teams wind up going. Yep. This is also where I need to figure out how to get two tabs going at once, because otherwise this is going to be a disaster to type. So we're going to do a little funkarooski here on the computer screen. All right, we need Washington for sure. Mm-hmm. Commanders, they're interesting. They could mess around and make the playoffs, but they're not good enough. Nope. Rams, same. They're closer to the puncher's chance to me, to be honest.
Because of that offense.
And they still got Aaron Donald defensively, but, I still think they're not quite good enough. Falcons, I think, belong in that group. They just play a funky style, and if Ritter can be a little bit more consistent, we'll see. Let's see.
You got the Seahawks.
Seahawks.
The Bucks.
I'm going to have to start going abbreviations. I can't type that fast. Pittsburgh, they're 3-2, man. Their defense is nasty. Although T.J. Watt missed practice today, late injury heel injury. If he's out for any extended period of time, they go to the no chance fast. He's like single-handedly keeping them afloat.
Yeah, 8 sacks. It's crazy.
Tampa Bay.
Yep.
Who
else?
Let's see.
You got the Chargers.
Saints, New Orleans, I would put in there. I would put the Chargers in there.
The Jets.
I would still put the Jets in there based off of their defense. And I guess if Rodgers comes back, although I color me very skeptical of that.
The Texans.
I would say, are the Texans good enough? I feel like they are.
3-3. They still have a shot at the division.
Yeah, that's true. They also got to have a path. And so in that division, sure. What about your boys in Indy?
With no AR, I mean, the defense is going to, keep them together. Like,
I think if the Commanders are in there, then we got to put Indy in there.
Yeah.
Because, Hal's probably better than Minshew, but really not by that much. Because Minshew's got some years on him, obviously.
Yeah.
But, if JT comes back and get going and they can ride him.
That too.
And the defense and Z and them keep doing their thing.
Yeah.
And the division, they've got a shot.
Nah, I don't know if they're going to get because they lost both games to Jacksonville.
That's true, too. I mean, Jacksonville's a better team, but, yeah. All right. So that's probably the list.
The Raiders are at 3-3.
They got no shot, bro.
The
They're
Packers
imploding.
are at 2-3.
I don't think they have a shot either. But I'll put Green Bay in that list.
Okay.
I think that's the list.
Yeah.
Which means our no chance teams are Carolina, Denver. Now I'm just going from the bottom up. Arizona, the New York Giants,
the Patriots,
which is crazy. Tennessee,
Yep.
Minnesota.
Yep.
Do we really think Minnesota belongs in there? They're 2-4.
With 2-4, and they barely beat the Vikings. I mean, they barely beat the Bears.
Their defense is so bad, man.
Yeah.
And with no JJ, they belong in there. That's true.
The Raiders.
The Raiders. Is that everybody? That's everybody.
Yep.
Okay, so that means our groups are Dolphins, Niners, Chiefs, Eagles.
Top 4, no complaint here.
All right. Lions, Bills, Ravens, Cowboys, Jags, Bengals, Browns.
Sounds about right to me.
Okay. Commanders, Rams, Falcons, Seahawks, Steelers, Bucks, Saints, Chargers, Jets, Texans, Colts, Packers.
Yep. A lot of interesting teams there.
Yeah. And then Carolina, Denver, Arizona, New York, New England, Tennessee, Minnesota, Vegas.
They got no chance.
All right. I think we did a good job there.
Yeah.
Here's my question then.
Who moves?
Because there's still 3 minutes left in the segment and we can't just be done. It's not how it works. Who's most likely to move up or down? Let's go Dolphins. Who's most likely to move out of the prime contenders?
Most likely?
Yeah.
You might clown me for saying this.
I mean, it's tough. These are probably the 4 best teams in football.
But if I had to say a team, it will probably be the Chiefs.
Oh, see, I think it's the Eagles.
Okay. I mean, the injury woes are definitely catching up to their defense. Offensively, they still have all the firepower in the world.
But they haven't actually been that good offensively.
Yeah, but neither have the Chiefs.
Oh, I thought that's what you meant. I thought you were talking about the Chiefs. Yeah, I mean, I think the Eagles, part of the problem is, Jalen last year played like superhero, and I don't know that he's playing like that.
They also lost, who was their offensive coach? Steichen.
Yeah, so there's a chance that the Eagles, steady because the new coordinator settles in and they figure it out and they unlock some things.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that in a couple of weeks they could be living more in the puncher's chance. Okay. Meanwhile, I think out of the puncher's chance category, I already said this earlier, I'm in on the Lions. Color me influenced by Dan Campbell on Hard Knocks last year. I was in on them last year, and then they just had a miserable first part of the season,
and
then they got rolling, and they haven't stopped since. We're a year into this now.
Yep.
They're good. I think the Lions are the best. If the Lions are in the NFC title game against San Francisco, I will not be surprised.
Yeah, and the thing is, it's funny because Aaron Glenn, he got a lot of, criticism for how bad their defense
Bro,
was
he was like
last
a week
year.
from getting fired.
Yeah, and they've turned, things around, and they're top 5 offense and top 5 defense. So if the defense can consistently, play how they've been playing, granted it's been, a little lesser competition, I think the Lions are going to be scary, but they got the Ravens on deck this Sunday, so let's see how they fare.
It's a great test. It's probably the best game of the weekend, to be honest. And then interesting, are there any of the interesting but not good enough teams that you think could wind up in puncher's chance?
The Rams.
I agree with you there.
I would say the Rams just because you get Cooper Kupp back. We see, we know who he is, but Puka Nakua's emergence, now they actually have a legit number 2, and he was a problem before Cooper Kupp came back. So
right.
I think offensively, from that standpoint, I think that'll be enough to keep them alive and give them a chance to go out there and compete. I don't think they win the division, but I think they'll have a good chance at winning. Making the playoffs.
I think being behind San Francisco in the division's pretty locked up.
Stuff.
But same division, Seattle's always an interesting one to watch too.
Mm-hmm.
Geno looks a little bit more human this year than he did last year, but who knows? We'll see. All right, those are our NFL tiers. We'll do them again next Thursday, same time, same place. You know the drill. But coming up next, what about the Commanders as they get ready for the Giants? We'll get some more thoughts from Logan Paulson and a Take Command Thursday next here on the Hoffman Show. Team 980. Hope you're having a fantastic Thursday. Time now for a little Take Command Thursday. Logan Paulson and I do, of course, the Take Command podcast 3 times a week. We also have the Take Command pregame show Sundays, 10 a.m. here on the Team 980. Simulcast on 106.7 The Fan and live in person. If you want to come hang out with us, doors open at 11. Show starts at 10 at Tap Sports Bar, MGM National Harbor. All right, so, of course, our show that comes out tomorrow will preview the game, but part of the preview process is figuring out where the holes are to plug in the first place, and that is where we leave you today. Some thoughts wrapping up the Falcons game and where the Commanders can improve to try to get a winning streak going Sunday in New York. No, that's good. So let's talk about it. How do you become more efficient on first and second down? One of the things that I think a lot of people were talking about, I know Anthony was tweeting about, and Anthony never tweets during Commanders games, but he's like, man, they can't run inside zone for anything right now. Like, there's not a lot of yards available inside for the Commanders in the run game, which obviously is going to hurt your first and second down efficiency. I wasn't watching closely enough to know whether Anthony was dead on inside zone versus dives versus duos versus whatever. But, everyone just thinks those inside gun runs are always inside zone. But like whatever they're running, what's going on there that they can't get more yardage off of it? And what else do you see on first and second down that is causing them to be in these situations in the first place?
Yeah, so this is something we could probably spend a lot of time on. And I do think there's a philosophical element here that is really interesting to talk about. So if you look at teams that run the ball on first down quite a bit, like, we talked about Detroit, San Francisco, Miami, these teams, they are not just running base runs, but they're not base runs, if you know what I mean. Like, they are schemed up from an angle and leverage standpoint to maximize that opportunity in a way that a lot of teams that do a lot of gun runs just don't do, because you lose the ability to kind of create the angles that you're looking for. And what I mean by that is, like, for example, on inside zone, let's take inside zone, for example. I don't really want to double team vertically into the defense. I don't want to do that. People say, well, that's what a double team is. You got to be physical. You got to get after it. In the NFL, defensive linemen, they are not here to mess around. They are here to split double teams like absolute maniacs. They're fast, they're big, they're athletic. So I need a little bit of misdirection. And if I could take that double team instead of the guy that's stacked over the 3 technique to the guy that's stacked over the shade, think about my ability to create horizontal movement as opposed to vertical movement. And so I look at stuff like that. I'm like, that is a tough double team angle. That's kind of their philosophy here. They want to throw the ball, and running is a secondary thought. So when you have to run the ball, you have your counter out of gun, you have your inside zone out of gun, and you have maybe an outside zone run out of gun. But you don't game plan those runs to maximize the angles. You're just running those runs. Does that make sense what I'm saying? You're just running.
Yeah.
Wanda.
Well, can you give a little bit more of an example of like the difference? So like you have Wanda, your weak side zone, right?
Okay.
How does it look in day one install, which is as far as a lot of teams get, and how does it look for Kyle Shanahan or Mike McDaniel?
So it's gonna. I mean,
what are the subtle differences?
It depends on the opponent, but like, let's just. This is one thing you could do, just as an example, right? So, for example, Wanda is weak side run away from the tight end with no fullback. So think about it. All the offensive line combinations are going to the first linebacker in the box. So if you think about 6-man blocking surface, right? Tight end, 5 offensive linemen, and a running back, right? And then think about it versus a nickel front. So 4 down linemen and 2 linebackers. So we should be able to get hats on hats, right? So obviously the front side tackle, the right tackle in this situation, is going to block the defensive end. They're going to double team the shade with the guard and center to that first linebacker in the box. And then they're going to double team the 3 technique on the backside to the second linebacker in the box. And the tight end's going to cut off the defensive end, right? Easy peasy, right? From the dot, from like behind center, that works really well because I can stay ahead of the center. And then I have to know as the running back that those blocks are out leveraged. So as much as I want to run this outside zone, it's a 9-hole run or an 8-hole run in this case. It's outside zone. It's not true outside zone. It's going to cut back off the first double team because that linebacker is going to step down. The guard's going to have bad leverage, and we're going to wind back probably off that double team to the 3 technique, right? So that's kind of basic Wanda. The second you put it in offset gun, right, you lose the ability to make those linebackers move horizontally, right? Because they don't have to go anywhere because you're behind the center when you get the ball. So they just stay there because you haven't done anything. You haven't moved, right? Like if it's from the dot, I run laterally, they have to match. I'm creating movement just by my angle as the running back, right? They have to match me. So we've created horizontal movement. It's small, but enough that it creates a cutback. When it's an offset gun run, for example, and I do that, the linebackers don't move. The combinations can't get enough movement on the down guy because the linebackers just peel the double teams right away. So that's like a simple schematic thing just from the dot. Now, if Kyle's running it, you're going to get a jet sweep action either to the – so this is what Kyle would do if we're really being honest here, right? What Kyle would do is he'd put the X receiver, so the guy to the open side of the run in a tight split, and he'd say, go crack the mic. So now that front side double team combination can go to the safety and really ride that double team out of there. And we've created a crease because the receivers got good leverage to crack the mic. The double team's got excellent leverage to stay and really ride that out. And that's just a simple thing that they've done from a personnel standpoint in San Francisco to get receivers that want to do that kind of stuff.
So to make this clear, like instead of having to kind of rush up to the second level to get the linebacker, now you're really driving that defensive lineman out of there. And if you hit it right, you've got someone to account for the safety who is supposed to be unblocked in most typical schemes. And that's how you get touchdowns.
Correct. Yes. And that's an easy way. So just think about how do I maximize each block in the line? And that's what Mike McDaniels does. That's what Kyle does. And that's why they're good at running the football, because they go down the line. They say, is this a good block? No, this is hard. How do we make this easier for our guy? Do we do it with formation? Do we do it with personnel? Do we do it with that? You'll see them run a play. We talked about Zorro earlier, right? Mm-hmm. Zorro used to be tight end fullback. We're mashing this guy. Let's go get this guy. And now they run it with receivers. They have the receiver lineup in a tight split. I love this little wrinkle. That Sam linebacker doesn't want to get cracked, so he widens out. So you've created more space in the defense just by using a receiver who the defensive lineman thinks is going to get cracked. So we've added 2 yards of movement that I physically don't have to do. So again, that's the type of stuff that it's small details, but when you're watching it, you're like, that's what takes a mediocre, average kind of vanilla NFL running game to the next level. And it takes a lot of time, it takes a lot of film study, it takes a lot of prep, and it needs to be part of your identity. And so I think if I was going to say what the identity of this team was, they are passing to open up running lanes for the running back. That's what they're doing. And I think about like the first couple runs of the Bills game, right? They get the Bills in these 2 safety structures. Then when you run those runs, they're light boxes. It's better for the running back. It's not a priority. You're not doing the Kyle Shanahan bit or the Mike McDaniels bit where you're running teams into heavier box looks to throw. It's the other way around here, I think. And so that's okay. So your passing game is going to be a little bit more complicated. You're going to spend more time on that because that's like your bread and butter driver here. So I don't think it's a bad thing. It's just what this team's identity is at the moment.
Right. So that circles back to like, how does this team be more efficient on first and second down?
Yeah.
And it sounds like I would probably
throw the ball more.
Yeah, throw the ball more and try to get like, because the first drive or one of the early drives, they get the quick sit route to Logan Thomas. Then they run a similar concept like 3 plays later. It might even be the next play, and they just put Terry in that spot. How do you get that stuff more often?
Yeah, and that's tough. I mean, that's why coordinators get paid a lot of money. Is like, how do we find? And I think that's where, again, I would probably say, outside the Philly game, that's something that we both think he could be more efficient. EB could probably be a little bit more efficient at, is like, where are my opportunities to find quick, like easy throws in the quick game for the quarterback? Terry's running a stick route. That's great. Easy completion. It's not a sit, but it's a stick. Like, to your point, it's a different concept, but gets the ball there and easy. Logan Thomas on a sit. Easy. Like, can we find more of those? And you can't do it all the time because defenses start to key on it. But what if we do quick game and then we do a run? What if we do, and then the next play is a play action and we hit the thing? You know what I'm saying? Like, that sequencing is so important because it just kind of keeps teams unsettled. And obviously, when you're not efficient on first and second down, you can't get in your sequence. So maybe EB's got this great sequence of plays, but the execution isn't quite there and we don't get where we need to go. So on some of those, so that's what I would say on that. It's just like for him, you got to throw the ball to get these run looks that you want. And finding with a young quarterback like Sam and a guy who's taken a lot of pressures, we've talked about this a ton, can we find quicker, easier throws? And that is the challenge of every coordinator in the NFL.
Right. One thing that I did like a lot in this game, specifically in the first half, is, throws that are closer to the quarterback are easier. Now, sometimes they're muddier because there's more bodies in there as well. There's linebackers and hook players and safeties coming down, whatever. But if you got to throw the ball outside the numbers, like that is a long throw. You're going to take longer to see it. You're going to take longer to throw it. And they started moving Terry inside a little bit more. The stick route you mentioned, there's the big play where they get down inside the red zone on a leak route, which is one that, we were talking before the show, like 7 years ago, only like backup tight ends ran that route because you want to sneak that guy out of there. And then just figured like, oh, we can get Cooper Kupp on that. And Vikings, obviously Kevin brings that to Minnesota after being with Shaun in LA and is like, well, I can do that with Justin Jefferson. And you see Terry getting that leak route where it's like, oh, I'm coming across to block. Just kidding. I'm gone. and it's effective. Those guys get tracked more. That's the downside. But you start getting a flow. You start getting some of the running going. You start getting some of that stuff. And a guy even like Terry McLaurin can get lost in the wash. But I think EB did a good job in this game where Terry has 11 targets of moving him inside closer to Sam, closer to the ball, and thus making him more available for a couple of those catches. Obviously, some of them are outside. But that was one of the usage things that I liked in this game. I like generally how they use Curtis in this game. Yeah. We talked about Jahan on take 5, so people can check that out. But yeah, I mean, I think that, and also they only ran 50 plays. So like everyone's like, oh, you got to get Logan the ball more. You got to get Jahan. You got to get this guy. And it's like, well, if you were more efficient on first and second down and, we're on the field for more than 4 to 6 plays at a time, then you'd have more targets for people. But those were things that I liked. And I wonder if they can tap into some of those things more and also mix it up, right? Like, can you get Jahan in some of those same spots and hit him on the stick route and like get these guys involved on the easy stuff and I'll also have it help you be more efficient as an offense.
Yeah, 100%. And you mentioned the first drive. Like I love the little shovel pass or pitch pass or whatever you call that to Curtis, which is basically a run. And talk about a game plan run. Like that's great. You got great leverages, great angles, great numbers there. So obviously they have that in there, but to me, it's not going to be off of like your base, Wandas, counters, GTs, all that kind of stuff. So that's something I think will be kind of interesting to watch is, as this offense matures and as they get into better game flows, like what is their answer? Because again, they've been pretty vanilla from a run game standpoint, but again, you like some of the, like love that little jet sweep thing to Curtis, love the leak to Terry, love that he's getting targets early. Like that's all good offensive process. It's just can in this game specifically, be more efficient on first and second down, so you're not in these like really tough leveraged third down situations, so.
Yeah. One thing they also did, I feel like they used a little bit more motion in this game. And it was pretty simple, basic motion a lot where you'd either start, like most often it was you have the back start split out and then you bring them into the backfield. There was at least one where Terry starts in the backfield and then they like, all right, get out of here. Yeah. So there's like some small wrinkles that they're starting to add. And obviously watching Kansas City over the years, like I think EB would love to use a lot more like violent jet sweep type of motions and, the orbit motions and things like that maybe that stuff's coming. But for right now, like starting to add a little bit and we'll see how complicated it gets and how much this offense grows by the end of the year. But anything else offensively that we want to talk about?
No. And just special teams being an extension of the offense was great to see too. So
good job, J-Bo.
Yeah.
Good job, James Garner. By the way, good job to John Harris and Terrell Burgess. And like, a lot of these guys that get called up, Tariq Castro Fields as a cover guy on punt, like those guys did a really good job. And, we're literally on, Friday's radio show and on Sunday on the pregame, we're like, yo, what's going to happen on punt coverage? Because there's no Christian Holmes, no Percy Butler, no Jeremy Reeves. And turns out it was their best coverage game of the year. So sometimes it'd be like that. And we'll see how that goes moving forward. All right. Thanks for listening here to Take Command. Take 5 tomorrow with our stories from New York, as obviously Commanders are headed up to the Giants. And then stay tuned. We might have something special for you on Friday. At the very least, we're going to have a Giants-Commanders preview, but we might even have a special guest. So we're working on that, and hopefully we'll tweet that out beforehand. So stay tuned to the social medias for that for confirmation. In between now and then, I'll also see you on the radio 4 to 7 for the Hoffman Show. For Logan Paulson, I am Craig Hoffman. Thanks for listening to Take Command. For watching this clip. Wow, that Hoffman Show radio show that guy mentioned sounds pretty good. Don't you think, Anthony? Maybe people should check that out.
I think they should,
Oh, look, they are right now.
Yes.
You love to see it, hear it, whatever. Take Command podcast is out 3 times weekly. Tomorrow morning, our Giants and Commanders preview. I think one of the things that we touched on there, Anthony, that is interesting is this struggle identity-wise, and we talked about it in the show that comes out tomorrow morning of like, well, we came to this conclusion that the Commanders should throw the football more. And then we look at the Giants and go, they're giving up 5.1 yards a carry. Well, what do you do? Like, it's tough. I don't know what you do if you're EB. Because you want to be you, but you also want to do what they do badly. And those are two opposite things.
Mm-hmm. I mean, as EB, has said, like, sometimes you just got to take what the defense is going to give you. Granted, he's had a little tough time doing that at times, but if you're looking at the raw data and, they're giving up 5 yards, I would expect, to see some Chris Rodriguez. I would expect to see more B-Rob. And maybe we can get some stuff outside of the tackles, some outside zone. I don't think we run enough of those plays, but when we have, B-Rob, he's ripped off some good runs. Antonio Gibson's had some good runs to the outside, so I don't think we see enough of that.
I think, too, with, like, some of the inside stuff, they've got to stick to it more. Like, Rodriguez and Gibson both had big carries in the second half, like 9 for Gibson, 13 for Rodriguez. Like, you're going to hit 2, you're going to hit 3, but then eventually you will bust one. So you just kind of got to stick with it sometimes and willing to take some of those carries.
You want to do it against this Giants defensive front interior?
I mean, they're giving up 5-1 a carry, I do.
In the Dexter Lawrence and Leonard Williams, we're not talking about everybody. We're just talking about.
Like, Kayvon Thibodeau is super athletic. Getting the edge on him is not exactly the world's easiest task.
You might be onto something, Craig.
So, like, if I can down block those two dudes into each other, then, yeah, it's easier said than done. But, like, how do you create those angles? How do you recreate some of the ways in which other teams have gotten explosive runs on them? Like, I think that's what you got to do. The other thing with the running the football, though, is, like, you're less likely to turn it over, which EB talked about earlier today is, like, kind of what won them the game against Atlanta.
I mean, that's outstanding because basically when you don't turn over the ball, your chances of winning, I mean, they increase tremendously. I mean, hell, it led to us winning. Our defense created 3 turnovers. We didn't turn the ball over. And so that was something that we celebrate because you never want to turn over the ball. And I thought our guys did a great job of protecting the football, which was huge, and it led to us, helping us to secure the victory.
I mean, sacks are bad, but turnovers are worse. And, like, that's what the lesson was from Sunday. Like, Desmond Ridder didn't take as many sacks, but he turned the football over, and look whose team won the game. So Desmond Ridder got the ball out of his hands, but went to the wrong team 3 times, and you can't win that way. And so I do think that it's interesting. EB talked about kind of this general thought today of, like, is he growing as a play caller? Like, is he going through like this learning phase? And, like, he should be. He's never done it this way before. I think even more importantly than that, he's never done it with this personnel before.
I think it's always a process because you're always trying to improve yourself. You're always trying to make sure that you're giving the best plays out there to give you guys an opportunity. So there's some plays that you wish that you could take back, and there's some plays that, you're fired up and excited about. But, that's just a part of being a coordinator. So I think I'm right where I need to be, and that's here with our guys sitting here at 3-3, just making sure that we're all taking the necessary steps moving forward to help us all grow together.
I mean, like, that is – look, I'm on EB at this point that he's very platitudinal. Is that a word, Anthony? Platitudinal?
I don't think it's a word, but there's this thing called Google, so I'm just gonna no.
Yeah, no,
it's not.
I don't trust you to have spelled it correctly.
Platitudinal.
Definitions of platitudinal: dull and tiresome, but with pretensions of significance or originality.
Oh, yep. It is on here.
I was correct on all fronts. Platitudinal is a word, and you couldn't spell it correctly.
Nah, because I'm in Webster's right now. Oh, it isn't here.
I am also in Webster's.
Wow.
Platitudinal. Platitudinal. Platitudinal.
I'm actually a very good speller, Craig.
That's great. Didn't help you there.
Nope.
Not one bit.
Nope.
Anyway, Bieniemy is platitudinal in a lot of what he says, but like that one's correct. Like that one, they do need to learn and grow together because it's a constantly evolving thing. Like even if you're lucky enough to have the same personnel every week, how you deploy it against different schemes and different personnel on the other team because you're playing a different opponent changes every single week. And you get kind of a book on, hey, this works for us against this certain look or doesn't. And you learn what your quarterback likes and then you get it all figured out. And then, a receiver gets hurt or an O-lineman gets hurt and it throws a new wrench in it. So like this constant evolutionary process that you're figuring out. And the second you think you've got it figured out in this league, that you're going to be humbled real quick. And that's just the way it is. It's the Hoffman Show. We're on the Team 980. We're always live as well on the free Odyssey app. This time tomorrow, we'll be getting ready to talk to Dave Johnson from Toronto as the Wizards will be wrapping up their preseason. A pair, Anthony, of undefeated teams.
Yes, sir.
3-0 in the preseason. Wizards 3-0 thanks to a monster night from Jordan Poole. We will talk a little hoops, Poole, and also ESPN's top 100 rankings next. The Hoffman Show on the Team 980 and always live as well on the free Odyssey app. They get real Icarus-y, to go back to your Greek mythology days. You remember the story of Icarus, Anthony?
Not quite, Frank.
What do they teach you at Georgetown Prep? Icarus, the guy who flies too close to the sun.
Nope.
What do they teach you at Georgetown? Anthony, I think you just put your job at risk at Georgetown Prep.
Why?
There's no way that they did not teach you the story of Icarus at Georgetown Prep.
We actually did a lot of Greek mythology, but we didn't talk about Icarus flying too close to the sun.
Yes, you did. You don't remember it. I feel very confident. Who can we call
It's okay.
at Prep
I'm
to
ask
confirm
my
this?
kids I mean, I will just do that right now, actually.
Okay. I would like you to ask someone of authority. Do we teach about Icarus?
2 hours later.
Did we ever check in on that, Anthony?
Yeah, my classmates actually texted me and said, yeah, we've done it.
Okay. Yeah, we'll have to figure out where you were on that day of class at a later date.
You're right.
Last night, Aryna Sabalenka makes the U.S. Open final, the Belarusian player, and here's how it sounded on Belarusian television.
Aryna Sabalenka! Ваму! Что Арина недостойна звания первой ракетки мира.
Yeah.
Получите! Распишитесь!
Oh, yeah.
Rising up! Back on the street! Did my time, took my chances! When the distance, now I'm back on my feet. Just a man and his will to survive. So many times it happens too fast.
Oh, he's
You
going.
change your passion for glory. It's the eye of the tiger. It's the thrill of the night. Rising up to the challenge of a rival. And they lost, no survival. Chose to blah, 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 blah. Все, ребята, я сдулся.
10 out of 10. No notes. It's the Hoffman Show. We're on the Team 980. We're always live on the free Odyssey app, and we just realized that we're freezing. Anthony, I swear to God, it dropped 6 degrees in the last 10 minutes.
It definitely did because I just started feeling cold as well.
Can you go fix the air?
Yeah.
This wasn't a setup. This is not a bit. This is me actually wanting you to go. So we had this problem the other day, and then I went in there and fixed it. And then I joked that I was eventually going to make Anthony do it just to prove that he knew how to work the thermostat and wasn't being basically like this was a chance to test if Anthony was lazy or if he knew how to work the thermostat. How confident are you that you correctly changed the thermostat?
1,000%.
Okay, good. Because I think it's also definitively colder, like in this chair. Like, I don't know where the vent. Oh,
it's
the
right
vent's
here.
Literally right there.
Right over both of us.
Why did they put the vent there? What a dumb place for a vent.
That's a great question, Craig.
How about over there? One, from a sound perspective. I got it. Let's put the vent right over the microphones because they don't make any noise.
Mm-hmm.
Famously, vents quiet. Although I think ours is fine. But yeah, man, not great. Not great.
Are you still cold?
Yeah, I can't do the show right now. My brain doesn't work. It's getting better. You definitely did it. It's just unfortunately
there's proof. There's not how to work a thermostat.
Time that you know how to work this thermostat at least, which is most important for me in my life because I don't really need you to adjust my one at home for me. I think I got that under control. Although when we move into our new place, if I can't figure it out, I'll give you a call.
Call me.
The thermostat man.
Yes, sir.
You ever heard thermostat versus thermometer analogies?
No.
It's a great thing. It's like a great mindset. If you're a coach, hey, be a thermostat, not a thermometer. You want to be someone who sets the temperature, not someone who takes it.
Ooh, okay. Okay.
Yeah, you like that, huh?
Now that's smooth. I'm
Yeah.
gonna steal it.
I mean, it's not an original. I don't have rights to it.
Okay. Can you say it one more time just so I can?
Yeah, you need to be someone as a leader who is a thermostat, not a thermometer. You want to be someone who sets the temperature, not someone who takes it.
Be a thermostat, not a thermometer. Okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
Good stuff right there.
Yes, sir.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
I'm also highly distracted right now, Anthony.
Why?
We'll get to Jordan Poole's day in a moment. Because the BetMGM Tonight crew
is up here.
Is up here. And they're frantically moving around.
Oh, there's one more.
I wonder if something's
Ryan.
happening. Yeah, there goes Ryan. He needs to go that way. I do wonder if there's something happening in the studios downstairs and they're doing the show from up here today.
Uh-oh.
That seems to be what's happening.
Yeah, you might be onto something.
Because they're with the engineers and everything.
Yeah, the way you put 2 and 2 together, pretty good.
Find out what happens at 7 o'clock here on the Team 980.
Yep.
Wait, no, do we have Talking Terps tonight?
Let me 2 seconds. The show ends at 55. We have. Oh no, there is no Talking Terps tonight.
Are they on the bye this week? Remember that correctly? No, they played. Are they on the bye this week?
Yeah, I think they're by this week.
Yeah, that would explain it.
Yep.
Okay. Find out at 7 if they could figure stuff out. All right, so last night, you know who figured stuff out? Jordan Poole.
Ooh.
And he didn't really cook that much early. I was kind of half watching the game as I was making dinner and then, got ready or got dinner and then watched a couple of minutes of that game before flipping over to the W game as one's a preseason game and one's a final. One of my best friends plays for. The other is the Washington Wizards. So as much as I do care about the Wizards and do want to have a good feel for them, you know which game I was watching live. But then all of a sudden you start to see some tweets during the game and you're like, what did Jordan Poole do? And he went from nothing to something real quick. 29 points in the first half. I mean, I guess he did kind of started relatively early. But the biggest thing is, like, he got to the free throw line. And right now in betting markets, you know who's getting the most bets to win the NBA scoring title?
You're lying.
Yeah, it's Jordan Poole.
Wow.
I mean, part of this is like, is he the favorite? No. But for the odds, people are like, oh yeah, no, because he was as high as 100-1, and people have bet it down to 40. He's 40-1 to win the scoring title, and like he's got a legit shot. And last night shows you how. This dude goes 15 of 16 from the line, and is 6 of 12 from 3, 10 of 19 from the field overall. So he scores 41 on only 19 shot attempts, and he plays 27 minutes. He had 41 in 27 minutes.
Yeah.
Just nuts.
That's insane. But that also goes to show he has a super green light, because 19 shots in 27 minutes is crazy.
That's a lot of shots.
Yeah.
That's a lot of shots.
Like
and I do wonder, like, how that goes. I mean, people know he's going to shoot, and it's pretty fun for us. But what is that? Like, there's a moment last night that's kind of gone viral, and I think it's very silly. I'm going to bring it up, and I'm going to say that I'm not reading into it, but you know what I'm talking about?
No.
There's a video, like a reverse angle of the sidestep, like the nasty sidestep three that JP hits.
Away. Yep.
And Denny Obvious on the other wing, like, pass me the ball. And as JP shoots, Denny's like, what? Now, you can't see his face. His body language looks like he's pissed. But for all you know, he's just like, this guy. Like, they've seen it in practice. They know what's up. They've watched him play before. And when he's on a heater like that, what are you going to do? You let him cook. He's in Madison Square Garden. Too bad that it was a preseason game. But I think that, you know, that's going to be an interesting thing that Wes Unseld has to manage is you have this guy that's going to be a volume scorer. Kuz is also going to be that way. Kuz is going to take a ton of shots. I think Kuz is built to handle that as well as anyone. Like, Kyle is just, like, it's partially super team first and partially like he's just very good at going with the flow. Both of those things are true and work together. JP's gonna get shots, and it's up to everyone else to continue to do the other things. Do you defend? Do you stay locked in when you might not touch the ball for a couple of possessions? And do you treat him like the scoring savant that he is and be okay with him doing that? Or are you like, hey man, I need the ball? And this is also the you know, some people have been like JP for point guard. And this is the kind of thing where like a Tyus Jones has to have a great feel for the team. And that is why, despite I think some of the talent that you have, that a lot of people don't think this team's going to win very many games, is because they don't feel like that can all come together and coalesce into winning basketball. I think it can come together way better than a lot of people think. Now, what if they win 10 more games than Vegas thinks, they're still a 35-win team. So that's not great. But this is why I think like every given night, like they're going to be competitive because they have dudes who can score. They have dudes who can do the other stuff. It's just how consistently are they going to do it? And if you're not super involved offensively because JP's having a night where he takes 1,000 shots, how well what's the maturity level of the rest of the team to deal with that? And especially, you better be able to deal with it when it's successful. I don't want to see pouty faces when Jordan Poole has 41 points. Like, that's a good thing. To be very clear, I feel like I've been almost too negative talking about this. And like, Jordan Poole scored 41. What a terrible thing for the Wizards. No, Jordan Poole scored 41. That's awesome. How's everyone else rally around it and make sure that the 41 doesn't happen in a loss?
Yeah, I think, you got to learn to live with it. Like, live and die by, you know, Jordan Poole and how much of a volume shooter he's going to be. But also, Kuz didn't play yesterday. So you got Coulibaly, you got Adavia. You got those two guys, and then Daniel Gafford also. Somebody had to shoot the shot. So
well, that's kind of, you know, Jordan Poole 2023 is a Wizard, and you know, maybe it's the whole year, maybe it's just until he gets traded. Jordan Poole Wizards. Someone has to take the shots, which is why people are betting on him to win the scoring title.
I don't blame him. And Tyus Jones, you know, he's going to set him up. You know, he's just as consistent as they come when it comes to a point guard.
He has been, although I do know that some of the Wizards folks that I follow that have been a little more locked into the preseason than I have been with all the Commander stuff that I do / we do, have said, you know, Tyus is not necessarily been as impressive as they thought. But like last night, he plays 26 minutes. He's got 13.7 assists, and he's got the best plus minus of any of the starters. Yeah. So the numbers don't lie in that regard.
And it's just the preseason, like, it's going to take time for everybody to mesh. When he was with Memphis, you know, he had been there a long time. They had been together as a nucleus for a long time, so it was easy to, you know, build that chemistry. So I think that's more so what they're just working through.
Yeah, for sure. Muscala last night, by the way, also started 5 of 5 from 3.
Mm-hmm.
So that was cool. He had 20 points last night. People forget that Mike Muscala is even on the team, but he's gonna play. And then, you know, the other guy that got minutes last night that played really well and put up some points was Ryan Rollins. I think with Johnny Davis out, Ryan Rollins is going to wind up playing, and he's going to wind up playing well. And it's going to be interesting to see how Wes manages that. They just have so many freaking small guards. They got to type. They got to type, and that type could be in trouble defensively.
Yep.
But will be very fun on offense. So we'll see. We'll talk to Dave about it tomorrow. And then obviously wrapping up the preseason tomorrow night, Wizards and Raptors here on the Team 980. When we get back, oh, buddy, it is a Real Things, Real People Said, Into Real Microphones edition on the day after a team won a championship. These are the best, and boy, did the Aces deliver. You do not want to miss the next 15 minutes of radio here on the Team 980. They get real Icarus-y. To go back to your Greek mythology days. You remember the story of Icarus, Anthony?
Not quite, Frank.
What do they teach you at Georgetown Prep? Icarus, the guy who flies too close to the sun.
Nope.
What do they teach you at Georgetown? Anthony, I think you just put your job at risk at Georgetown Prep.
Why?
There's no way that they did not teach you the story of Icarus at Georgetown Prep.
We actually did a lot of Greek mythology, but we didn't talk about Icarus flying too close to the sun.
Yes, you did. You don't remember it. I feel very confident. Who can we call
It's okay.
at Prep
I'm
to
ask
confirm
my kids
this?
I mean, I will just do that right now, actually.
Okay. I would like you to ask someone of authority. Do we teach about Icarus?
2 hours later.
Did we ever check in on that, Anthony?
Yeah, my classmates actually texted me and said, yeah, we've done it.
Okay. Yeah, we'll have to figure out where you were on that day of class at a later date.
You're right.
Last night, Aryna Sabalenka makes the U.S. Open final, the Belarusian player, and here's how it sounded on Belarusian television.
Арина Сабаленко! Ваму! Что Арина недостойна звания первой ракетки мира.
Yeah.
Получите! Распишитесь!
Oh, yeah.
Rising up, back on the street. Did my time, took my chances. When the distance, now I'm back on my feet. Just a man and his will to survive. So many times it happens too fast.
Oh, keep
You
going.
change your passion for glory. It's the eye of the tiger. It's the thrill of the night. Rising up to the challenge of a rival. And they lost, no survivor. Все, ребята, я сдулся.
10 out of 10. No notes. the Hoffman Show here on the Team 980. Always live as well on the free Odyssey app and streaming live on YouTube. We'll be back tomorrow, same times, same places. 4 p.m. is when the show starts. We get started with our keys to the game. What's at stake on a Friday? What else do we do on Fridays, Anthony? We got our picks. We got Damon Amendolara. And we're going to have WNBA champion Alicia Clark on the show.
Yes, we will.
So
on the Aces.
Yes.
Are you going to tell her that I was rooting for the Liberty?
Can
you not?
I'll probably spare you.
Oh, okay. Maybe you can save it until the end.
Yeah, I mean, it might come. Look, if he dies, he dies.
Because she's probably going to see you post all the Wizards, you know.
Oh, she's definitely going to see that because
exactly.
I just tweeted that video out not that long. I haven't checked my Twitter mentions since then.
Yeah.
But
so
I tagged her, and I also tagged Asia. And if Alicia would see it no matter what.
Yeah.
Because we follow each other because we're friends.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But if Asia gets a hold of it, then everybody dies. And Asia's just on a spree today.
Yeah, she is.
So
I already know.
Big if he dies, he dies.
Yeah.
Energy. Speaking of the YouTube stream, Brian tweets me, is there a fine for having the wrong date on the YouTube stream title? I don't know. Is there? Yeah, I think so.
That happened today?
Yeah, I mean, I forgot to change the date, apparently.
Oh.
I try to do that every day, and I think I failed. So.
Slipped your mind?
Yeah, I mean, I might have made a typo. I don't know what was going through. I mean, bro, remember, at the start of the show, I wasn't 100% sure I was going to make it through the show. I took a 10-minute power nap at 3:30 today. So. That's a very good point. You know, the fact that we've had what I think is a pretty good show is, all in all, a win.
Yep.
We got to change the total here. We've done a good job recently, knock on wood. Of course, we're always 1 15-point foul away from something going haywire. And we still do owe each other a lunch.
Yeah, we do.
But fine board has been updated. Anthony and I are now tied, 40 fine points apiece. There is an 80. We're at 80. When we get to 100, then we buy lunch and we split the cost based off of who has how many points, because it's 100 points, and that makes it easy for percent because this is our fine board and that's our math skills. Anything else, Anthony, before we get to real things?
I think you did a great job. Oh, did you say pick 6 for tomorrow?
Oh, no, I didn't. So we got pick 6 tomorrow. Don't be missing that at 6 o'clock. If you do, though, all the highlights of the show and the Hoffman Show podcast feed, and, of course, on YouTube at Craig Hoffman as well. All right, let's do it.
Real things.
We're not going to be sucked this year.
Real people.
5 and 11. Not very good.
Set into real microphones.
You know, the culture is actually damn good.
All right. It's my favorite type of real things. It's the real things the day after someone won a championship. Ladies and gentlemen, your world champion, Las Vegas Aces, plus a lot of champagne.
Last year I said 4 shots, but this year we going 8. Yeah, we just can't.
Also, whoever was running audio on this press conference, you could turn the mics down because they were going to be rowdy. That was not the greatest audio. This is not us messing this up. This was how it was fed to the world.
Yeah, we just can't. Yeah. Wait, y'all, I'm being serious.
That was when Asia was in the middle of giving a serious answer, and Kelsey Plum stormed into the press conference with a giant speaker on her shoulder, and the rest of the Las Vegas Aces, not named Alicia Clark, who was already on the podium, followed her. Asia was no longer interested in the serious answer.
Asia, you had a failed repeat in college, going for the second title in 2018. So, I mean, what was that on your mind?
Emily!
Was that on your mind coming into this at all? And does this sort of feel like a redemption moment for you in that way?
I can't hear Emily because she straight dissed me just now. Who voted Asia in 4th place for MVP?
Just for the backup, I can't believe that the supercut of this that we're working with here took that out. Alicia, deadass, just cuts off someone trying to, not cuts off someone asking a question, but like before someone could get another question is like, I have a question for y'all. Who voted Asia 4th in MVP? And the whole room got real quiet. Well, not the whole room because the rest of the teammates were in the room. You get the point.
Own it. Step forward.
Come on. Now's the time.
For the real Slim Shady, please stand up.
Becky.
Come on. Wait.
Own it.
Cassandra, please go with your question. We're not worried about that. I just want to know. The people want to know. We just want to know. Peanut gallery. Get it together.
Peanut gallery.
Man, you've been raising your hand. Come on. Talk to us. Sí. Campeón.
Spanish right now because a lot of people in Spanish is watching you right now.
Okay. Yo habla español muy bien.
Gracias por mirando. Back to back champs. You already know what it is. Back to back.
That was only 2 minutes of it.
I already know, because I looked online. It said 54 minutes.
Yeah, they were in there for a minute. They had to make up for the Liberty because they didn't do a press conference. I mean, I guess the Liberty did do a press conference.
They did like a 2-minute, like a 3-minute one.
Yeah, it was not very much.
Yeah.
Also, first of all, Anthony, I think something got on your camera. We need you to wipe your camera. Got to make sure that you're crispy there. Not with your thumb. Use like your shirt. Good gracious. There you go. All right, Anthony's back. Second of all, like we tuned in on Twitter as we were like winding down for bed, and we like pulled it up real quick, and we're like, oh, we'll watch a couple minutes of this because I saw it was happening. And within the first 30 seconds, like so much chaos. I don't even remember what some of the chaos was, but then Asia just like unleashed a gigantic burp, and her and Alicia like fell into each other laughing. But I will give Asia credit. If she was on this show, she wouldn't have gotten fined. She did it away from the microphone.
Oh, yep. Because I would have got fined.
Yeah, you definitely would have been like, blah, into the microphone. The Anthony Haney way. All right, we'll see y'all tomorrow on the Hoffman Show, Team 980, and on the Odyssey app. And YouTube, and we'll have the date right.